Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the WOR YouTube channel for round number 4 of this PC Tier 1 season. Today, the drivers are headed to one of the most iconic and historic circuits on the Formula 1 calendar. They're headed to the Ardennes Forest. It is, of course, the circuit Spa-Francorchamps. It's going to be a cracking race tonight. My name is Danfield, and today, as always, I'm going to be joined by Luke Etheridge. Luke, how are you doing tonight?
I'm very well. How can I not be when you've got a race at Spa to commentate on? Should hopefully be an absolutely cracking race. You never know what you're going to get around here with the weather. You never know what safety car, what strategies people could throw up. Really looking forward to seeing what could happen tonight. Looking forward to see whether anyone can challenge Alvaro Cavaton, because there is a chance that our championship leader might be having to start from the back of the grid.
Absolutely, of course, Alvaro Cavaton won't be here on time in this lobby. However, he will be here for the race, so he might not make it in Q1. He could be starting right at the back of the order. Of course, that could be detrimental for his championship. However, he's currently dominating the way at the moment on 61 points. He finally took his first win of the season last week at Baku, which was a fantastic race. He was able to take advantage of the late safety car coming out due to a crash between Patrick Saipos and his fan Pookie, and he was able to take victory. Alvaro Cavaton, Luke, he's in fine form.
Yeah, definitely. He's, been by far the most consistent. Second, first. Can't really complain with that one. Always, at or near the front in each of the races. He's had an absolutely fantastic start to the season, and if there is a circuit where you don't mind too much starting further back, Belgium might be one of them. Of course, there is a chance that he will be back in time for Q1, but he'll be leaving himself with a lot to do there. So we'll have to wait and see what he can do. But those drivers further back as well. Jake Benham's been incredibly consistent so far. Thomas Ronhard didn't have a great race in America, but managed to come back from the back of the grid to third place last time. So definitely don't write those drivers out. We know how good they are, and it is still incredibly close behind. And it's still early days. You never know, we're going to have someone new perhaps coming in and showing what they can do.
Well, one driver I think is definitely going to be coming in this race, making his debut this season. It is Shanaka Clay in the Williams. He'll be racing tonight. Really excited to see what he can do alongside Alvaro Cavaton, and I'd imagine he's got some history in WOR. He's been very strong, especially him and Alvaro Cavaton. They've been very strong working together in the last few races. Well, whenever they've been teammates, really, in this league. So I'm very excited to see what they can do tonight.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, Shanaka, we've not seen too much of recently on the PC side, but obviously was a very successful driver on the Xbox side of things in WOR, and we know how quick he is, so really looking forward to seeing him tonight. And I think another name that everyone will be looking forward to seeing on the PC side for the first time in World Online Racing, Otis Lovens, aka FRA Elite, is going to be making his top-tier debut here in the PC side of things. So we're looking forward to seeing what he can do. We know he can mix it with the best. Wouldn't be surprised if he's, right towards the sharp end in qualifying and the race.
Yeah, I mean, Otis Lawrence has been so incredibly strong on the Xbox side of things. He has only recently come over to PC, I believe. He was tipped to be racing a few weeks ago, but if I remember correctly, he wasn't feeling all too well. He's finally back at his best in that Ferrari tonight. It'll be very exciting to see how he gets along. We're almost full in the lobby. We've got 18 drivers, of course. We're not going to be having Alvaro Cavaton in qualifying. Such means, I believe, that we are waiting for Jake Benham, if I'm not mistaken, Luke.
Yeah, I think he's the final driver that we are waiting for, so hopefully we'll be able to get him in quickly, and then we'll be able to get this underway. We'll just quickly run through who's going to be racing there tonight at the moment. In fact, Jake has just joined. So we've got Jake Benham and Thomas Pratchett in the Mercedes, Liam Parnell and Harvey Cohen in the Red Bull, 2 debutants in the Ferrari, Otis Lawrence and Daniel Koya, Bourlain Ferrer and Alfie Butcher making his debut this season as well. Very quick driver. Looking forward to seeing what he can do. Teco Hardy and Ika Baena in the Alpine. AlphaTauri, Patrick Sipos, so unlucky last week, of course, crashing out at the castle section from the lead of the race and Modesto Mena. The Aston Martin is going to be Andrei Tarabukin and Duncan Hoffland. Williams will be Alvaro Cavaton when he joins alongside Shanaka Clay. In the Alfa Romeo, it is Istvan Pookie alongside Leftard, aka Conor Muir. And then in the Haas team, it is going to be Thomas Ronhar and Leroy Brown. So yes, obviously some very fast drivers. Jake and Thomas especially will be the ones hoping to take advantage of Alvaro's possible absence for qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm noticing a lot of PlayStation guys on this grid tonight from back when you and I were on the console days. So, no, I'm really excited to see this grid. I mean, it's going to be a bit of a nostalgia trip for you and I. But then, of course, it's going to be, I guess, a whole new experience. I've just seen in the lobby, Janaka Clay, he is now in the lobby. So I believe that we are about to get ready to go into this one. Of course, it's going to be the full 18-minute Q1 advance into Q2, where then the top 10 will advance from that 15-minute session into Q3, and that'll be the fight for pole position. Luke, what better circuit than Spa-Francorchamps for a great race this evening?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, it's such a good circuit. So challenging, I think you could say as well. Such an interesting circuit. You've got that contrast of Sector 1 and Sector 3. If we can quickly get that track back up there, you know, that's all of that high speed. You know, the one Eau Rouge, Radion, Blanchimont, all of that things. And then, you know, the middle sector, it's tight, it's twisty. So you've always got that compromise. For a qualifying setup, you probably want to put a bit more downforce on the car. That will probably be the quickest way. But in the race, that might just leave you a bit of a sitting duck on the straight. So if you're starting further back, if you think you're going to be starting further back, which I normally did, and I enjoyed doing this, you know, have as low downforce as you feel you can get away with in a middle sector to make sure you're not eating your tyres up too much either, and then you'll be lightning quick down the straights. But that all goes out the window if we get some typical Belgian weather.
I mean, rain is certainly a possibility around this track. I mean, for the sake of the race, I hope that it's going to be dry. I'm pretty sure in qualifying for the past 2 races, we have had a wet session. So here's hoping, I suppose, that we're going to get some dry running in the Ardennes Forest. One of the most picturesque Formula 1 circuits, I believe, that is out there. It's really historic, and of course it's old school, you know, got gravel traps instead of these long runoff zones, so can be quite unforgiving around here. Hopefully it's going to make for a fantastic showing. The drivers have all readied up. We're about qualifying session, 18 minutes to decide the top 15. Luke, who's going to be your early picks for pole?
I mean, I can never really write off Thomas Ronhard just with the form he's been in all season long. I think, you know, Jake Benham's looking incredibly quick as well. I think if I go for those, you know, the left field, the non-esports picks, it's going to be 2. One, someone who's making his debut this season, Alpha Butcher, and someone who's making his debut completely on the PC side of things, and that is Otis Lovens. I think they're going to be ones that are right up there towards the front of the grid. But, again, if we do get some wet weather like we had in Belgium, like we had in Baku, never know quite what could happen.
Absolutely. It seems to be a very exciting time in WOR at the moment. And wow, we've just loaded into the qualifying session. And Luke, it seems like there's a running theme here.
It's, yeah, this is... I mean, let's be honest, if this was real Formula 1, there'd be no qualifying taking part in this. It is 1998 Spa scenes out here. I mean, you could say 2021 as well. Biblical scenes out here. Not really meant for Formula 1 cars. Absolutely throwing it down. Full wet tyres for everyone. This has just made this session a little bit more interesting, I think.
Yeah, certainly. I think it's definitely going to throw some of the drivers off. Typically, they don't do wet weather practice. It's normally all in the dry. Some drivers do anticipate it, and I'd imagine quite a few of them would have been doing so around this 7-kilometer long circuit. Of course, the longest on the Formula 1 calendar. Seeing some activity down at the Mercedes garage. That is either Jake Benham or it is Tomek Paragic, and I believe that it is Tomek coming out of the garage. I think he'll be the first one to exit the pit lane. There's a Ferrari getting ready to go out. I wonder, Luke, if that is Otis Lawrence, and indeed it is, making his debut in WORPC this evening. Of course, season 13 Xbox champion, where he absolutely dominated that season. However, at Spa-Francorchamps, he was only able to gather 10 points. It was actually his worst finish all season long. So maybe this is going to be Otis's Achilles heel.
Yeah, maybe that's why he's wanting to get out early on, just to get a bit of a feel for the track, get a feel for these conditions. Like you said, Dan, I mean, around Spa, you're going to do a bit of wet weather practice, but let's not forget, if you just stick it to time trial, you've got a choice between dry and wet. You don't really get any of that in between in the terms of the weather. Obviously, in Grand Prix, you have got a little bit more control over what you can do, but wet weather's completely different compared to driving in the dry in terms of how close it is going to be to the practice. That is why you'll see cars normally fueling up for multiple laps, just getting a feel for the track conditions, getting a feel for the braking points, because it could evolve lap after lap after lap. You never know whether things are going to get slightly drier, slightly wetter as things go on. But that is why, I mean, we've only seen 2 drivers heading out there straight away, which makes me wonder if there's a possibility things could get a little bit drier as the session goes on. And we're seeing there Andrei Tababukin and Liam Parnell both selecting at the moment a set of the intermediate tyres. So we'll keep an eye on that as to whether we'll get anywhere near intermediate conditions. I mean, on board with Otis Lawrence at the moment, yes, it is absolutely throwing it down out there, but there's not really any standing water on the circuit.
No, and I'm seeing it in the skyline up ahead. It's some light clouds further off in the distance. Whether that means we're going to see some lighter conditions, I'm not too sure. Willem Ferrers fitted the soft compound tyre in the pit lane. Okay, he's gone back to the intermediate set. So that could actually be him checking to see whether the track is drying. And there's a handy little trick you can do in the pit stop where you like flick through the inters and the soft tyres to see if the softs are gathering pace. Obviously, there's going to be no improvements in the performance of the dry tyres at this point. Maybe it's worth a check as Otis Lawrence begins his lap. I know he's a very popular driver, of course, a part of the Veloce Elite team. So realistically, Otis Lawrence, being at such a young age, is a driver that's almost inevitably going to make it into F1 Esports. He's got to put the work in now. Got to try his best to get a good lap out here as he climbs up to the top of Radion. He's been able to avoid all the traffic. SRT left, and that's Connor Muir and Chanaka Clay have both come out of the pit lane. Maybe they're not seeing a break in the weather. They've come out on a set of the wet compound tyre, but a 32.3 in the first sector for Otis Lawrence. He runs deep at the chicane there, and he's going to back off on this lap. So early signs not looking.
Yeah, not really a classic lap there from Otis. I mean, it was a long way off the apex in La Source as well. Really seems to be struggling as now we're on board with Tomek Paradchis, who's making his way around Bruchel down the hill. Now towards No Name Corner, just getting a bit of a wobble on the car there. We do see a lot of drivers going wide with the track limits here, and we also see drivers going as far to the right as possible in the dry conditions. Tomek just leaving it a bit more careful, obviously, in the wet. And even he threw poo on, really struggling with those cars. Interesting to see that both Otis and Tomek are not finding this easy at all on a set of the wet tyres. Now, is that just because it is so wet out there that even the wets are struggling? Or is it that the intermediates might actually be the better tyre? We've got a few in the pit lane still showing on the inters, but no one brave enough to try it yet. But scrappy laps so far from what we've seen.
Yeah, Andrei Tarabukin in the pit stop. He's fitted the wet tyres back on. We're yet to see him out on the circuit. Liam Parnell sticking to his guns, as is Thomas Ronhard there on the intermediates. But once again, as you said, Luke, they're not out on the circuit. See a few more drivers exiting the pit lane, but everyone seems to be on a set of the wet compound of tyre. Tomek Paradchis is going to come towards the line. We'll see what his opening time will be on the set of the wet compound of tyre. He's going to cross the line now, and it's going to be 1 minute 58.299 for him. And Otis Lawrence, given that he backed off on his lap, a 2 minute and 7 second lap, that's not going to be his best performance. And typically in these wet weather conditions, Luke, we always see these drivers go out for more than one run. When you're on a set of the soft compound tyres, they burn up so quickly, and you can't really get as much use out of them that it's really only good for one lap. But when you're on the inters and the wet tyres, you go a few runs here, so they like to fuel the cars up a lot more and spend a lot more time out on circuit.
Yeah, I mean, Tomek, he's half a second down, coming through sector 1. Not looking fantastic. Just looking at it from the onboard camera, barely looks like it's raining out there, even compared to the start of the session. Go to the main broadcast cam, we are getting a bit more rain out there. But yeah, a lot nicer conditions than it was right at the start. I'm going to go out on there on a limb and say we will be seeing someone at least try the intermediate tyres at the end of this session. And if you're the first one and you make it work, if you can keep it on the circuit, I've had it before where it looks like it's going to be slower. It's a lot more of a struggle on lap number 1, but on lap number 2, you can absolutely fly around the circuit once you've got the confidence, once you've got the temperature in the tyres, as Conor Muir just invalidates on the wet tyres. But yeah, I'm going to go as far away as to say I'm certain we'll be seeing someone on a set of the intermediate tyres before the end of Q1. It's just whether they can keep it out the barriers on that set of intermediate tyres.
Timing is critical, Luke, and I'm seeing a lot more drivers on the left-hand side of my screen in the pit lane fitting a set of that intermediate tyre. The rain is certainly lightened up from what we saw at the beginning of the session. With just over 10 minutes to go left at the moment, I'd imagine that we are not too far away from seeing drivers exiting the pit lane on that green wall tyre. Just waiting for a few more drivers to come across the line to finish their lap. Shanaka Clay has gone fastest in his Williams. Welcome back to WOR, of course, making his debut for this season. But Otis Lawrence immediately responds with a 1 minute 57.499, a decent enough time from the Veloce development driver. He currently sits in at P1, but still only 3 drivers with lap times on the board. I'm trying to look in the pit lane. I think I see a Ferrari exiting. That is Daniel. Forgive me if I say the name wrong. Daniel Kaiser, and he is on the set of the intermediates.
Yeah, he's going to be the one everyone's watching at the moment. That Ferrari driver making his debut here on the PC side of things in the top tier. Let's wait and see what he can do. I mean, he's pushing quite hard for Eau Rouge there to say it's your first lap on a set of intermediates and everyone else is on a set of the wet tyres. And that Ferrari looked pretty planted there. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing what Daniel Koya can do on these laps. Ika Baena and Andrei Tarabukin, they've gone out on a set of the full wet tyres as well. So we'll see if they bother finishing this lap or whether they do decide to dive it back into the pits. We're nearly halfway through the session, which is normally the point where you start seeing a lot more drivers setting their times anyway. We've only got Otis Lawrence, Shanaka Clay and Thomas Pradchitz that have set any times at the moment. Tycho Hardy's gone out on a set of the intermediate tyres. Andrei Tarabukin's drifting his way through Stavolo and Paul Frere. I wonder if already, by the time these drivers are getting to the end of the lap, these rear intermediates are just burning up, because it's not looking... Like I said, there's no standing water, and there's a lot less rain falling from the sky. So, intermediates, I think, certainly are going to be the tyres to go on. I think Daniel Koya could just prove that. He's going to be the first driver to set a lap, and we've now got Hardy, Ferrer, Parnell, and Leroy Brown joining him on that set of inters.
Yeah, of course, a bit of a ripple effect, and I can see Andrei Tarabukin coming into the pit lane. I imagine Alfie Butcher is also going to be fitting that set of the intermediates. So everyone is waking up now and realising that the intermediate tyres are the way to go. And I've just been told in the live chat that it is Kuya. So, Luke, you've been right with your pronunciation. I can't pronounce names, so I do apologise for pronouncing Daniel Kuya's name wrong earlier.
Yeah, I've commentated him on another league. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I think I've butchered that name, and I've butchered many others plenty of times. But it is going to be Mr. Koya on a set of intermediates on the Ferrari. Get ready to set what could well be the first representative lap of this session.
Absolutely, as he heads into the first couple of corners. He's in towards the source, and for some reason my screen is glitching here. There we go. I've been able to get on board with the Ferrari as he heads towards Eau Rouge and Radion, one of the most critical corners on this circuit. If you mess it up, your run down the Camel Straight is going to be very poor, but he's looked planted through there, and surely this is early indications. Intermediates are the way to go, as we'll see him approach the first sector split. He's purple through there, 32.483 for the man in the Ferrari. A little bit of a slide out of Laycom, so still not perfectly down with the grip, but down towards Bruxelles. Now the downhill right-hander, very easy to lock up through here, taking that late apex on the inside, then drifting it out wide and in towards No Name Corner. Daniel Koya, Luke, he's looking quite nice on this lap.
Yeah, doing very nice indeed. Slightly faster than what we saw from Pradchitz earlier on in Sector 1. Now making his way through Buhon. Normally, fairly standard now for a Formula 1 car to do that flat out, as he has a little bit of a snap halfway through the corner, but manages to hold on to it. Now the camper chicane, 5th gear corner at the moment, being very careful on the throttle indeed, not to do anything slightly silly. Interval Stavolo and Paul Frere. Watch that curb on the left-hand side. Ika Baena, the fastest of everyone, 1:57.198 on a set of the wet tyres, and I'm surprised he carried on for that second run on the set of wets after invalidating now Blontimont. This will give us a clue of how much confidence Daniel Koya's got. Again, it's easy flat out in the dry. In the wet, it was only a downshift and a lift. Managed to, hang off the brakes there, so not doing too bad. Down towards 3rd gear for the bus stop chicane. We don't normally see drivers dropping down that low onto the throttle across the finish line. This is going to be fairly comfortably the fastest time we've seen in this session. 7/10 of a second. Daniel Koya provisionally the fastest, but of course, this is all about just making it through Wouldn't surprise me if we see him go for another lap on that set of tyres.
Absolutely, with only 6 minutes left to go, time is really of the essence. We've only got 5 laps at the moment, and only one of them has been on the intermediate tyres, and Daniel Coy has definitely proved that the intermediates is the way to go. Tycho Hardy can only manage a 1 minute 59.6, so he's had a poor run on his lap. Andre Tarabuc has just got going on his run. We got one of the Alfa Romeos in the final sector, but I believe it is Williams Ferrer up next to cross the line, is now through the bus stop chicane and out of the final corner, keeping it in 4th gear and coming across the line now. He is going to be able to jump ahead of Daniel Coyer, and that is Williams Ferrer to the top of the order.
Yeah, that's not too surprising. I think Tycho Hardy must have made a mistake somewhere. Leroy Brown, he now goes fastest of everyone. 1:55.393. So we are just seeing drivers get quicker and quicker and quicker as they go. And it is just the Alpine of Iker Baena who's trying to get round to the pits as quickly as physically possible. Because he's only got 5 minutes left in the session. You know, outlap's going to take him 2 minutes. Got at least another probably minute messing around in the pit lane. So not left himself with much time whatsoever, has Baena. A lot of other cars as well, just sitting in the pits at the moment, not bothering. They're only going to give themselves that one run, of course. They're only going to give themselves that one opportunity to get a good lap time in. As Harvey Cohen, he now goes fastest of everyone on a 1 minute 55.1. Patrick Sipos just starting his first proper flying lap in anger. Jake Benham alongside him as well. Thomas Ronhard, Modesto Mena, Paradchits and Baena, the only drivers left in the pit lane at the moment. But I think we'll be seeing them heading out sooner rather than later. And Daniel Coyer's come back in. I think certainly we'll need to head back out there because there's been so few drivers that have set a time. You can't really say with confidence at the moment what's going to be good enough.
I don't know. I think it's all a mystery to us at the moment, and with track conditions seemingly improving continuously around this circuit, it is going to be very difficult to actually decipher who is going to be the quickest. I think we're seeing the likes of Coyer and Hardy coming into the pit lane because they know that these track conditions are improving. They're not going to have enough fuel to be going for the next 4 minutes, so why not come back into the pit lane, possibly strap on a fresh set of boots and then come out once again when the conditions are more favourable. Connor Muir, I believe, is towards the end of the lap, or is that Isvan Pookie coming in towards the line? He's invalid on his previous best lap. It would have been 55.2. That would have placed him in P2. Of course, DNFing last week, despite running such a strong race in the podium positions. He's definitely going to be coming back with a vengeance. And there's Shanaka Clay to the line with a 1 minute 54.414. He goes clear at the top of the order.
Yeah, and he had a massive slide coming through Paul Frère as well. Really had to grab hold of the car, so to still go 7/7 faster than anyone else, that would have been an absolutely storming lap time. I am certain. Alfie Butcher 31.9. That's about half a second faster than what we saw from Daniel Coyer earlier on. It's still pretty dicey out there, but as long as you're nice and careful, you can find the grip. Harvey Cohen, first driver into the 153s at the moment. This is always the case when you get a session like this with these weather conditions. If you're the last driver to set a time, you're laughing and you're going to have that best possibility of getting through. You do not want to be caught out and, crossing the checkered flag quite early on, which could be the case for one of the McLarens. Alfie Butcher, by the time he gets to the finish line, there's going to be about 1 minute 30 left, so he's going to be one of the first drivers to be finished in this session. Only 4 drivers are going to jump out because Alvaro Cavaton hasn't made it in time, so he's going to be starting from the back of the grid. But I'd say Butcher and those cars directly behind him on track, possibly the ones under the most pressure.
Yeah, and Alfie Butcher is certainly feeling the pressure as he goes through Paul Frère. He's lighting up the rear, sliding his way through that corner. It might cost him a little bit of time, but we'll see what he can do as he heads through Blanchimont, now running off the circuit and onto the curbs. He keeps the lap valid. That's once again going to lose him a bit of time. He'll have to go again, I'd imagine, if he wants to comfortably put himself into the next session. But with the improving track conditions, I'd imagine this won't be a bad lap from the McLaren boy. And it's only 4th fastest. Cohen, Sipos and Clay are all quicker than him. We've got Liam Parnell coming up towards the line next in his Red Bull. He goes into P5 just behind Alfie Butcher. The Shanaka Clay once again improves and goes... What is that? About 5/10 clear of Harvey Cohen. So Shanaka looking very, very nice in this session. Once again, Luke, one of the big issues I'd imagine is going to be invalidations. I'm noticing a lot of drivers like Tomek Parajas, Jake Benham, and Istvan Pukki, they're all invalidating. Are we going to see a surprise exit here?
We could well do. I think what's also going to be another issue is just a bit of traffic at the moment. You can see the two Ferraris very close together. If these drivers decide, yeah, do you know what, this lap isn't good enough, and they start backing off, it's going to have an effect on all the cars behind them, which might also, you know, they might have invalidated their lap, they might have decided to back off. We're seeing yellow flags in the final sector. It's amazing how we're on the longest track on the calendar, and we're already getting all these drivers bunching up. Jake Benham goes fastest of everyone on a 153.1. Otis Lawrence goes into third place at the moment. He's 7/10 off the fastest time. We've sometimes seen, you know, if you're 7/10 off the fastest time normally, that's not good enough to get you through towards Q1, but it has been a bit of an interesting session. Ronha, he's out there at the moment. He's just about to start his outlap. Andrei Tarabuki's just started a flying lap as well. Modesto Main has had a massive slide coming through the middle sector, and he's invalidated his lap. So that is one driver we can certainly say is going to be heading out of this session. 7 seconds to go. Checkered flag about to fall. And we're going to lose Modesto Maina. Which three drivers are going to join him? Alfie Butcher, he's on a flyer at the moment.
Yeah, he's up by almost a second at the moment. This could put him right towards the sharp end of the grid. The rain has pretty much stopped as the clock has struck 0. Here comes now Alfie Butcher up towards the line. He goes into P3. I believe it's Liam Parnell up next, and he once again is improving by 0.8 of a second. There's an Alfa Romeo in behind. That'll be Istvan Pukki, currently on a 2-minute 8-second lap, so it's not looking too good for him. But here he comes towards the line. Liam Parnell was only able to go into 8th position. Pukki goes just behind Alfie Butcher and into 4th position. Shoots his way to the top of the order with a 1-minute 52.650. And Modesto Main has just come across the line. He is out of this session. We've got now an Aston Martin. That's Duncan Offland towards the line. He goes ahead now of Leroy Brown, and no one seemingly wants to be at the top of the order. It keeps on continuously changing throughout this session. Patrick Sipos, is he going to have a crack at the whip? Shanaka Clay retires in the pit lane. He believes that he is safe into the next session, as Patrick Sipos, indeed he can go to the very top of the order. Harvey Cohen will slot in behind him as Jake Benham jumps ahead and into P1. One of the Ferraris coming up towards the line next. That's Otis Lawrence, secures himself in to P4. Then Daniel Coyer in 14th position, in a bit of a dangerous place. He's going to get himself into safety and puts himself in P8 as Tomek Parajas jumps in front of him. Then Andrei Tarabukin crosses the line. Tycho Hardy in that drop zone at the moment. He's currently in at 17th position as Thomas Ronha comes across the line with a 1-minute 52.2 to get himself into the next session. Liam Parnell eliminated, as is Bourlain Ferrer, and I believe SRT Lefted was the last one there. And crucially, Luke, no Alvaro Carreton to be seen.
No Alvaro Carreton. And I said those that started earlier on might start to struggle. Alfie Butcher was 13th in the end in what looked like a very good lap time at 1B. Istvan Pukki only just sneaking through as well. Jake Benham and Thomas Ronha, 2nd and 3rd in the championship. Top 2 in that session, exactly what they would have wanted to do. And Otis Lawrence, 5th on his debut in Q1 in the top tier.
Absolutely, it's a very impressive run from Otis Lawrence there. He'll be advancing into Q2, and I'd imagine, Luke, given how much this session dried up, I think there's a few in-game minutes before we head into the next session. We could possibly see some dry weather running, and maybe at the end of Q2, some drivers, if it's a wet to dry track, they might be taking that risk. But that brings us to the end of Q1. Very exciting session. We lost Tycho Hardy, Liam Parnell, Bourlain Ferrer, and Modesto Maina. Of course, Alvaro Carreton not racing at the moment. But as far as this session goes, I don't believe there's too many surprises.
No, not really. I think, you know, those that we probably expected to make it through have made it through. No big names, no massively big names down there towards the bottom of the order. I think it just showed how crucial timing was in that session. Modesto Maina obviously invalidated. Apart from Tycho Hardy, they were all fairly early out. They were all early crossing the line and finishing their session, and that is probably what did just cost them. Weather conditions, you know, exactly the same as they were at the end of Q1. Maybe things will just be a tiny bit slower because the track's had a chance to put a bit more water on, but you can see there it's showing some on a set of soft tyres. You know, possibly we could end up with a very similar session to Q1 here. The difference being this time, of course, we're going out on the dries at the end, and there's probably a much bigger risk of getting it wrong on the dry tyres than there is on getting it wrong on the set of the intermediate tyres. First cars out, we've got AlphaTauri making their way down the pit lane. That is going to be Patrick Sipos on an outlap, unsurprisingly, on that set of intermediates.
And Patrick Sipos, of course, pole sitter last week in Baku. The less said about his race, the better, ending in a crash due to his own mistake at the castle section. He'll be looking for a better race this time out at Spa. Luckily, there's no close walls right next to the circuit where he can DNF, so I think he'll be feeling a lot more confident in this one. Istvan Pukki, Ikabaina, and Andrei Tarabukin, they're all on outlaps as well. I see a Williams leaving the pit lane on my mini-map. That means that's Shanaka Clay exiting the box. Of course, no Alvaro Caraton in this session, so he is the lone Williams in Q2, but no one chancing it on a set of the soft compound of tyre. But however, just looking on board with Patrick Sipos, it looks like there's pretty much no rain whatsoever. I'm trying to see if I can make out any specs, but I do believe that it has just about stopped, and as I say that, as soon as he enters Puon, some of it appears on the lens. However, it is, I'd imagine, going to start to dry up very, very soon.
Yeah, I mean, there is still that rain out there. An interesting little caveat to all this, of course, is a lot of the drivers, what they can do on the PC, sometimes to make it easier, is to turn off a lot of the weather effects to get more frames, when more frames used to be what most of the drivers preferred. However, what that did mean is, when it was just light rain, sometimes you couldn't tell, and I've seen it before where drivers have been out there on a set of soft tyres, and I've looked on my screen from a commentator's point of view, and it's still been raining, you know. If it's raining whatsoever out here, you're going to want to be on a set of the intermediate tyres, because we're going from wet to dry rather than the other way around. So we'll see whether anyone does brave it on a set of soft tyres. I'd say unless the rain stops in the next, 3 or 4 minutes, and in fact, just looking on my screen at the moment, I can't see any rain whatsoever. I was about to say, unless it stops in the next 3 or 4 minutes, we aren't going to get soft tyres, I don't think, in this session. It has stopped, so yeah, final half of this session, I think it's going to be where all the action is, as you can see. Only Sipos, Baena and Clay out on circuit at the moment. Got drivers heading back towards the pit lane, and I think Sipos might be wishing that he'd come back towards the pit lane, because this lap time is not going to be important in 12 minutes' time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the key indicator as to when it is crucial moments for the dry tyres, of when, of course, we see the message from race control stating DRS has been enabled. Of course, they're not utilising it in the wet weather conditions, but it's only Ikabaena and Patrick Sipos out on a lap at the moment. Realistically, they're just wasting time at this point. The track will begin to dry up due to the fact that there is no rain on track, and even so, Patrick Sipos has actually just invalidated his lap time. So if I were him, I wouldn't even through Puon. I notice a little bit of rain coming on to the lens, so maybe it's just a little bit on the circuit here. And once again, around this, I believe this is campus, there's some rain, so it is beginning to fade away, but towards the lower depth of this circuit, the rain is definitely still present.
Yeah, and of course, it is such a long circuit, Spa-Francorchamps. It's one of those where this can commonly happen. You could, especially in Sector 1, you could come round La Source, as Ikabaena has a massive moment coming through Paul Fred, really had to stamp on the brakes to stop that one sending towards the barrier. You could come through La Source and it could be absolutely bone dry. By the time you get up to Lacombe, 20 odd seconds later, could be absolutely throwing it down. I mean, DRS has now been enabled. There's no argument about what tyres are going to be the best, and he's going to be very quiet at the moment in this session. Very quiet out on circuit. No one out there. So I say, why don't we use this as an opportunity to hear from one of our sponsors at Williams Esports.
Welcome back trackside here in Spa-Francorchamps, where the weather has taken a change for the better. We're now seeing some slick tyres out on circuit, the first of which being heralded up by Daniel Koya. And of course, he was the first one out on the intermediates in Q1. Now he's the first one out on the softs in Q2, so he's a bit of a trendsetter the young Dutchman, but we'll see how he copes with these tyres. Harvey Cohen is just behind him on circuit. Then there's one of the Mercedes of Tomek Paradzic, and then Otis Lawrence. So it seems like everyone, Luke, beginning to get out of the pit lane. Finally, we're going to see what these drivers really can do when they've got one lap of fuel and they've got fresh, soft tyres. And I'd imagine that this Q2 session with 8 minutes just over left to go, one here.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty normal to what we see because, of course, normally the first laps that are done in Q2 are done on a used set of tyres, so they aren't really representative. So for the drivers, it's not going to change too much from that point of view. It's just obviously, normally they've had some dry running on this day in history with the track conditions and, you know, the weather and everything just being slightly different. There might be the odd corner, which is still a bit damper than the rest of the circuit. We did see Sector 2 looking like it was the final one to stop raining, but now it looks completely dry out there. We'll wait and see what everyone can do. Well, I was about to say everyone but Conor Muir is out on circuit, but as you can see from the minimap, he's just exiting the pit lane. So all 15 drivers are out there on the circuit. 8 minutes, 10 seconds remaining. Let's see what Daniel Koya can do first lap on the set of the soft tyres, making his way towards Lassos. Quite a short one here towards the first corner, down to 4th gear, 50 miles per hour, 80 kilometers an hour through there. Now down the hill, past the old pit lane, past what they still use for the endurance racing, of course, that start line, and now Eau Rouge and Radion, and that just shows you how dry it is at the moment. No hints of a left whatsoever, flat out through there. DRS enabled for the first time this session, down towards the Kemmel Straight, where we're probably going to see most of the overtaking action in the race. If you pick your braking point out on that left-hand side towards Lecombe and Malmedy, right, left, and then right again. Very easy on the exit of Malmedy to just put a wheel on that curve and send you spinning towards the wall. The Bruchel, quite a hard corner to get the braking point there. Braking, turning, and heading downhill. Speaker's corner, you want to take as much liberties with the track limits around here as you can, but not quite that much. Daniel Koya just invalidating on that one. Harvey Cohen playing it a bit safer, but again, Dan, that seems to be a part of the circuit where we are seeing a lot of drivers having to fight the car.
It's very easy to use too much curb on entry to the corner and then carry too much speed at some other points. It's very difficult through here, as I believe Tomek Paradzic, he's had a spin off the exit of No Name. So yeah, once again, you said it that yourself, that these drivers, they're having to fight the car through there. Harvey Cohen, though, he's faced no such issues as he comes through Paul Frere. He gets to relax for a little bit as he goes completely flat out through Blanchimont. Of course, this is a lot more stressful in the wet weather conditions where you had to lift off, go down into 7th gear, and it was definitely a very tough corner. But now these drivers could just breeze by as if it's not even there, in towards the bus stop chicane, where it's one of the heaviest braking zones on this circuit. We'll see the first valid soft lap of the day. It's going to be a 1 minute 43.254. So these drivers, they're already in peak condition. Here comes Otis Lawrence up towards the line, a 1 minute 14.0 through the first 2 sectors, and he comes across the line, a 1 minute 42.182. Otis Lawrence making his debut on the PC platform in WOR. He's off to a flying start. Yeah,
very good lap time indeed. Straight off the bat as well to do that in what are still going to be suboptimal conditions. Very impressive indeed. Alfie Butcher, he's invalidated his lap time. He would have been right up there as well, but he's going to have to give this another go. Duncan Hoffland comes towards the finish line, gets himself up into second on a 1:42.235. So now we're seeing more traditional qualifying. These drivers extremely close together and pushing themselves as hard as possible. Andrei Tarabukin goes in towards 4th place, just over a 10th behind his teammate, so Aston Martin looking pretty good at the moment. Leroy Brown, he's invalidated as well, so we're not going to see anything from him. And also Jake Benham missing the track limits at some point of the circuit. And let's see what one of the fastest drivers, certainly on this grid, Thomas Ronhart, also invalidating his lap time. So thankfully, they've got plenty of time to go again. And that from Thomas Ronhart would have been good enough to go fastest. But, I mean, we've seen Paradzic struggle with track limits and spin around. Koya, Benham, Ronhart, Butcher, and many others struggle with the track limits. And just because it's dry doesn't mean it's easy out there.
Yeah, and I never really thought Spa-Francorchamps to be such a difficult circuit, really, with the track limits. But really thinking about it, there is plenty of places where you can run ever so slightly too wide and then send yourself off the circuit. Currently, Otis Lawrence, he's been able to come over these trials and tribulations. He is leading the way at the moment with a 1 minute 29.182. Tomek Paragis is on his way back to the pit lane. I'm trying to find someone who actually might be on a lap time. Is Shanaka Clay on a... Not seem like it. He is slowing down here. It seems like first run of laps, unless Patrick Sipos is still going here, it seems like the first runs of laps, they're coming to a close.
Yeah, Sipos, he's also backed off as well, but not quite as severely as Shanaka Clay. Still pushing quite hard at the moment. So Lawrence, Hoffland, Pookie, Tawabukin, Muir, Cohen, Baena, and Paradzic, with Baena and Paradzic at times not being representative at the moment. So it's still very early days, still a long way to go. We'll see whether anyone feels safe on those times. I severely doubt it. Track Evolution is going to play a big part now. They're going to get more used to what the dry conditions offer the car. So we'll be seeing everyone head out there again to set another time. It looks like Ron Har, he's backed off on his lap as well. I think maybe just running a bit low on fuel, so taking it quite steady, even if he didn't want to. On his way back towards the pit lane, Conor Muir in 5th place as well. Can we see him get in towards the top 10, which would be a great result for the Irishman? But yeah, I mean, Otis Lawrence towards the top. That was a bit of a statement, going originally 1 second faster than everyone else. Obviously, other drivers have got close, but no one has been able to beat that with a valid lap time yet. So he'll be feeling pretty proud with that. We'll see what's to come, though, in the final 3 minutes of this session. Incredibly quiet out on the circuit once again. All the drivers making their way back into the pit lane. Feel like in about 30 seconds' time, things are going to get a lot louder once more. And I can see already Tomek Paradzic's making his way down the pit lane. He'll be hoping there's a much cleaner run this time around.
Going to be Patrick Sipos just out in front of the Polishman with only 2.5 minutes left to go in this session. And given how long this circuit is, you do need to take a lot more time than you typically would around other circuits with your outlaps. So Sipos is going to jump the gun. He'll go as early as possible, as is Tomek Paradzis. I feel like both these drivers we typically see coming out very early in both at the beginning and at the end of the sessions. Alfie Butcher, Shanaka Clay have also come out onto the track. Is Van Pookie, and of course our provisional top time leader, it is Otis Lawrence coming down the Kemmel Straight. So it's going to be Patrick Sipos leading the way through here with just on the 2 minutes left to go. It is going to be crunch time with only 8 drivers with a valid lap time to their name. And track evolution once again is going to come into massive effect. Surely it is going to be whoever's out last is going to have the best of the conditions. Ikabayan has left this very late, Luke. He's just coming up ready on now with 1.5 minutes left to go. I wonder if he's going to get to the line in time.
He should do, as long as he doesn't get stuck in any massive traffic jam. And I'm just looking on board with Andrei Tawabukin at the moment. He's got an Alfa Romeo incredibly close to the back of him. He's got a Ferrari, I believe that's Daniel Koya, right up the exhaust pipe at the moment. So they're going to be backing off quite severely. But a Red Bull and a Haas extremely close together. Baena could get caught out in all of that. And it's certainly not what you wanted to be doing. I'd have wanted to leave myself quite a lot more time. In fact, I'd have even been tempted to head out very early on, and in case I make a mistake on the first lap, that gives myself time to get another lap in. But for everyone, it is going to be a single lap shootout to see if they can make it into the top 10. And Patrick Sipos, first one across the line with 45 seconds remaining in this session.
Here he comes now through La Source, keeping it in 4th gear. Of course, all these drivers utilizing as high gears as possible through each corner. Now going up into 8th as he heads through Eau Rouge and Radion right on the limit through here, getting the best run possible as he opens up the DRS down the Kemmel Straight, where he's going to be reaching his top speed around this track. It is going to be an excess of up to 210 miles per hour at the braking zone. 29.797 through there is now in towards Les Combes and Malmedy, now towards Bruxelles, a downhill right-hander, a pretty much double apex on the inside line, then running it out wide through No Name, utilizing all the track possible through here. Careful not to invalidate on the outside as the clock has struck 0. Everyone has been able to get to the line as now in towards Pouon. Patrick Sipos invalid and out of qualifying in here. Tomek Paradzis is still going on though, as now he makes his way through Pouon up towards campus. This short series of rights and then in towards left. I do quite enjoy these corners, driving them myself. Now towards the lowest point of the circuit. It is Stavelot in towards the final sector. Tomek Brajic with a 1 minute 13.985 through here. I believe that this is about a tenth quicker than what Otis Lawrence has done so far. Taking a nice break as he heads through Blanchimont now, taking the last left before the bus stop chicane. A heavy braking zone, braking at the 100-meter board, going down into third gear, and then he'll be short shifting to get the best traction possible into fourth and out on towards the start-finish straight. Open up the DRS and to cross the line. It's going to be a 1 minute 42.0. That's the quickest time so far. Alfie Butcher comes across the line now. He can't match it. He's 7,000 slower than Tomek is now. Shanaka Clay towards the line. He's the first man into the 1 minute 41s today. Otis Lawrence immediately with his own 1 minute 41. Isfan Pookie joining them in that bracket. He goes down up into third position. Leroy Brown was invalid on his lap. Duncan Offland's crossed the line in sixth place. That might not be safe for him. Thomas Ronhar is coming close to the line. He is in that drop zone at the moment. Connor Muir has gone into 8th and Daniel Koya into 11th. He is out of qualifying. Harvey Cohen in 11th as Thomas Ronhar jumps his way up into second position. And just like that, when we had no laps finished, all of a sudden, Luke, they've all come across the line at once.
Yeah, everyone did get very close in the final sector, and I think Ika Baena only made it across the line with about 1 second to spare. I was keeping an eye on that on the minimap. Very close indeed. Otis Lawrence, fastest of everyone, and look at that. Look at how close those times are. Longest circuit on the calendar. Top 5 drivers in Q2, separated by 3/4 of a tenth of a second. Fantastic.
That is incredible. And Harvey Cohen, he was only 4/10 off of what Otis Lawrence did, and that was him in 11th and out in Q2. He's joined by Ika Baena, Daniel Koya, Patrick Sipos, and Leroy Brown. And once again, not too many massive names going out in this session. I'd imagine that Patrick Sipos, though, he's not going to be feeling too happy about that one.
No, certainly not. I mean, last week he was on pole position. Fantastic job at Azerbaijan. He knows he had that race pretty much under control. Had the fastest lap of the race as well, even though you don't get any points for that here at World Online Racing. So I think he'll have been expecting a lot more from that, and it was millimetres wide. Now, but like Jack said in the chat, around pretty much every single circuit, you've got to get as close to the track limits as possible. Just gone slightly over, and obviously not having a banker lap to fall back on, paid the ultimate price. He is out of this session. We are down to just 10 drivers. Both Mercedes are in the session, both Alfa Romeos in the session, both Aston Martins, Shanaka Clay in the Williams, Andrei Tarabukin, Otis Lawrence, and we've got Thomas Ronhar and Alfie Butcher as well. This is going to be a fantastic session, I think. Lawrence, fastest in that one. Shanaka Clay up there towards the top in the first one. I mean, it was so close. I don't really know how to call it at the moment.
Absolutely, it can go any which way, and I could potentially see like 7 or 8 of these guys on pole position by the end of this 12-minute Q3 session. So make sure you stay tuned for that. It's going to be incredibly exciting. This is arguably the most stacked this grid could have been at this point in Q3. Of course, arguably this is the top 10 quickest drivers on their days, and with just over 10 minutes to go, we're going to await for who comes out first, but it's looking like a little bit of a ghost town as it stands at the moment. No one really wants to go out first. However, Luke, starting to see a bit of sunlight shining on the circuit, so conditions are definitely going to be improving. The track will be heating up, so the drivers are going to have to do a little bit less work on their outlaps, trying to get some heat into the tires, but everything points to even quicker Q3 times.
Yeah, you'll just be seeing the times improve now. Tracks will still be fairly green because we had that rain, so once it's got a bit more rubber down, that should help. I'm surprised we're not seeing more drivers just head out there straight along and just go for things. It's not like they're going to have a shortage of soft tyres, because for 1.5 qualifying sessions, you weren't needing any soft tyres whatsoever, and it looks like it has been throughout most of the sessions so far. But it is going to be Paracic, it's the Polish driver, heading out there first. 10 minutes to go in this session. Around the longest track, you'd have thought a few more drivers would have been keen to get down the pit lane, as that is some big news at the bottom of the screen there. Alvaro Cavaton has got into the session in time, and crucially, should be able to load a setup as well, so we know he'll be starting at the back of the grid. Is it going to be, though, one of the men closest to him in the championship, like namely Jake Benham and Thomas Ronhar, that takes pole position, or is it going to be someone else?
We'll have to wait and see. We've just got 9.5 minutes left to go in here. Tomek Parajic is the first man out on circuit, then Connor Muir in behind him, a driver that I'm very happy to see in the final parts of qualifying. He's always a driver you'd like to root for. Of course, DNFing pretty much on the first lap in Baku, and crashed on his way into the pit lane. I don't know if there was contact between himself and Jona Martins when that happened, but nevertheless, it was quite a funny incident to watch back on Twitter because neither of us was able to find his blip on the map. We thought he just retired in the pit lane, but no, it was his own crash. However, he's still been able to take it all the way into Q3, and I'm hoping the best for him. However, of course, as previously mentioned, Tomek Parajic will get us underway, and once he exited the pit lane, the floodgates pretty much open for everyone else. We've got 9 out of 10 drivers in this session on their out laps, and I can see the white blip on the mini-map of Thomas Ronhart coming out onto the track. With 8.5 minutes left to go, all drivers are on track.
Yeah, everyone out there, everyone not really wanting to take anything to chance, get a feel for, all because of the sun, it's still going to be slightly different track conditions to earlier. You don't see, compared to some other sims out there, you don't see as too much difference with the weather on F1 in terms of track temperature and air temperature as you do on some others, but there will be some slight differences. Track's heated up nicely, the tyres should be working perfectly, and it is going to be Tomek Parajic to really get us underway in Q3 with 8 minutes remaining.
Here it comes now in towards the first corner, arguably the heaviest braking zone. Of course, that is going to cause some issues, I'd imagine, in towards turn number 1. He gets through it nice and tidily, up towards now Eau Rouge and Radion, one of the most iconic complexes of corners in Formula 1 history. He's taking that very nicely indeed. Now DRS wide open at the rear of that Mercedes car. Has got all the clear air in the world, reaching speeds of excess up to 213 miles per hour at the braking zone, 29.744 at the first sector split. Now through Les Combes chicane and Malmedy, indeed, a little bit of a slide off the exit of that right-hander, but he's able to keep the car now downhill. Right-hander for Bruce Elson, utilising all the track on exit in towards No Name. Be careful not to invalidate on the outside there. He's taking that very nicely indeed. Of course, having a spin in Q2 there might have knocked his confidence a little bit, but he is unfazed as now through Pouon and down towards campus. It is looking very nice for Tomek at the moment. I wonder how everyone else is coping on their laps, utilising all the curbs possible, all the track limits that he can take. He is utilising them to their fullest extent. Maybe a little bit too much on the outside there. I mean, I'm not too sure how we didn't get invalidated through, I believe that was Paul Frere at the second part of Stavelot, but nevertheless, it's still a decent enough 1 minute 13.9 through the first 2 sectors in towards the bus stop chicane, the final braking zone along this circuit. Tomek Parajic now coming out the final corner, and to open up the DRS, what is his banker time in Q3 going to be? It's going to be a 1 minute 41.944.
Yeah, slightly slower than what we saw the fastest times earlier on in Q2 as Connor Muir goes across the line. Also with a 141.9, but a bit slower than what we saw Parajic managed to do. It's going to be the Aston Martins next. Andrei Tavabukin around the final couple of corners as we're keeping an eye on Duncan Hofland. Tavabukin 42.0. What can the Dutchman Hofland do? Not normally known for his qualifying pace. Yeah, just a bit off at the moment. Oh! That's big news. Thomas Ronhart has crashed out by the looks of things on the exit of Pouon.
Oh dear, Thomas Ronhart's session comes to a screeching halt. He is out of Q3. He'll be starting from P10, provided all the drivers in behind him get across the line with valid laps. As Shanaka Clay comes across the line, he can't go quicker than Istvan Pukki. Jake Benham will be the final runner to come across the line with a lap, and he's looking very quick at the moment at 13.7 through the first 2 sectors, and he goes P2, just 200ths behind Istvan Pukki there. Thomas Ronhart, though, that is big news out of this session. We're already seeing one of the predictions in the chat has made it Thomas Ronhart taking pole position. I'm afraid that's not going to happen anymore. Let us know, everyone, in the live chat after the first round of laps with 5 minutes left to go in this session. Who is your pole sitter going to be? And Luke, I'm going to swing that question to you. Who's taking it today?
I mean, before the session, this would have been a bit of a surprise, but he's at the top at the moment. All of a sudden, Istvan Pukki seems to have found some pace on this game. Obviously came so close to victory last week, had a fantastic result, would have got a podium. Wouldn't surprise me if Pukki can pull out a bit more out of that car and actually take pole position. I think Shanaka Clay is going to be up there as well. And of course, we've still got Butcher and Lawrence to also go for it. But yeah, I'm going to go for the man who's fastest at the moment. Probably not a name I would have predicted before the start of the session, but it's Van Pookie.
Absolutely, and I hope he can do well for the sake of what happened last week, taken out of the race pretty much by no fault of his own. I'm seeing in the live chat there's a lot of support for Otis Lawrence. We got FRL Charlie saying that Otis will take pole. Unfound Gamer is saying that Jake Benham will be on pole position. He's only a quarter of a tenth off of what Istvan Pukki has done so far. Zalantoth saying elite for the win. So a lot of drivers, a lot of live chatters really rooting for Otis Lawrence this evening.
Yeah, I think, everyone likes to see someone new come in. We've got a lot of popular names here, a lot of popular drivers. Everyone likes seeing someone new come in and just putting in a good job. Not exactly an underdog, because we all know how fast he can be, but certainly not someone... at the start of the season, we thought it was going to be racing in the console top tier, and then all of a sudden has made this transition over to the PC and has done it incredibly well. I've seen other drivers struggle with it and then sometimes could just fall off the radar, and I've seen other ones as well hit the ground running, and they tend to be the ones that end up being incredibly successful. So Otis Lawrence, he's still very young. We need to be careful not to just put loads of pressure on him. We've seen it in F1, we've seen it in so many other sports where you talk about the next big thing before they've really done anything at that top level. But I think the experience that Otis has had on the Xbox side of things is going to stand him in good stead. Whether he'll get pole position, find out in probably about 4.5 minutes time.
Absolutely. As with just under 3 minutes left to go here, Conor Muir is going to be making his way back out onto the circuit. And you can already see how he's revving out his car. He's trying to burn off as much fuel as possible before he gets his outlap underway. He's come out very early, I believe. I mean, even in the wet conditions, some of the drivers were coming out later than 2.5 minutes to go. It's one of the Mercedes coming out behind him. That's Tomek Peragis. Of course, we always see Tomek coming out very early in these sessions. Alfie Butcher just behind him. Then Shanaka Clay. There's an Alfa Romeo of provisional pole sitter. Luke Etheridge has tipped him to be keeping that position and staying on pole. I wonder how that is going to pan out with just 2 minutes left to go in this session. All 9 drivers out on track, of course, barring Thomas Ronhaar crashing out at Puon. Will be starting from P10 today.
Yeah, and obviously that's a big opportunity for Jake Benham. He's top of the championship at the moment on 61 points. Alvaro Cavaton is going to be starting, certainly, from the back of the grid. Jake's second on 38. The man's third in the championship, Thomas Ronhaar, on 31 points at the moment. At best, he's going to be starting in 8th. And that's only if Alfie and Otis don't set a lap time on this run. So, yeah, there's an opportunity for Jake Benham. Second place at the moment. Only 25 thousandths of a second off Istvan Pukki. I mean, I think we're going to see a lot of improvements on these laps. We're going to see drivers sneaking to that 41.7s. Maybe even a bit faster than that. We'll have to wait and see. But Conor Muir, he's going to be the first driver to head out. I mean, I think also he'll be very impressed with how things are going at the moment. 41.9. We're starting to see a bit more now of Conor Muir on the PC side of things. Is this going to be the start of something special?
Yeah, I really hope so, and I'm all for it as he heads down towards La Source. Of course, the first corner on this track, keeping it in third, then short shifting up to fourth on the exit, getting the power down as early as possible. Now taking the short run up towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Of course, the endurance start finish line, and then climbing the hill towards the Camel Straight, where he's going to be able to open up that DRS. Currently in P5 at the moment. He's got the entire track to himself. The closest driver to him, Tomek Peragis, as he approaches Eau Rouge and Radion. Now at the end of the first sector is up by 200ths of a second, so it's looking good provisionally for Conor Muir. Now off the exit of Malmedy and down in towards Bruxelles, utilizing all the curb on entry, then the double apex right-hander, not using much track on the exit of Bruxelles as possible, and now through No Name Corner. He's taking that quite nicely. Of course, very easy to invalidate through there. Down in towards Puom, double downshift in towards 6th, then immediately back up into 7th as the clock has struck 0. No new laps can be started at this time, where the track conditions are at their absolute peak for this evening's race. Is now off the circuit down at Campos. That's cost Conor Muir a little bit of time. Let's see what his sector times are. He's down by almost 1/10 of a second. It's not looking good for the Irishman, but we'll have to wait and see if he's able to find time in this third sector. Then we'll jump across to Tomek Paradzic is now through Blanchimont, the last left before the bus stop chicane. One of the heaviest braking zones on this track, a potential hotspot for overtakes this evening. Misses Apex on the inside and then switching it over towards the left now off the exit of the corner for the final time in qualifying. He slides across the line. Connor Muir is not happy with that one whatsoever. Tomek Paradzic will be up next to cross the line. He's up by almost a tenth and a half. It's looking good for the Polish man in the Mercedes now off the exit of the final corner and opening up that DRS to cross the line. He's 100 slower than Istvan Pukki. Still the Hungarian unmatched at the top of the order. Alfie Butcher, he's kept this lap valid and he'll cross the line in provisionally P4. Shanaka Clay up next and he goes to the top of the order by almost 0.2 of a second. Istvan Pukki right behind. He couldn't respond. He didn't improve on his lap as Andrei Tarabukin comes across the line now. He'll jump ahead of Jake Benham, who is still on his lap. Otis Lawrence just in front of him there. Duncan Offlam stays in P8. Otis Lawrence to the line. He can't beat Shanaka Clay. And Jake Benham now crosses the line and he snatches pole right under the nose of Shanaka Clay. Jake Benham will be starting right from the top of the order today.
Saving the best till last there, Mr. Benham. Absolutely fantastic lap time. 4 thousandths of a second faster than Shanaka Clay. Otis Lawrence in third place. Istvan Pukki invalidated on his final run, but fourth place I think he'll still be relatively happy with. But yeah, Jake Benham taking advantage of the misfortune of Wallar's crash and Cavaton not being able to make it on time. The Mercedes man on pole position for the first time this season.
Absolutely an incredible time from him there to go 4,000th clear of Shanaka Clay and then just 300th clear of Otis Lawrence. And I'm seeing in the live chat, Kyle Fulton, oh, if I said that name right, he's got the top 3 completely right there. So well done to him, and maybe run for the lottery this weekend. I'd imagine you'd be doing quite well for yourself. But an incredible end to qualifying. We've now got 22 laps in this 50% race. It's going to be a cracker. Luke, what an end to qualifying.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, fantastic there by Jake Benham, leaving it right till the end. I thought once Shanaka Clay had got onto that 141.6. I didn't know whether we'd be able to see anyone match that or beat it. Otis Lawrence is coming so close, but just falling out in the end. And yeah, Jake Benham definitely leaving it until the last minute to take pole position, which around here, you know, isn't always the easiest thing. We'll look at that track map again. Yeah, as you said, it's a short run towards turn 1, but then you're flat out all the way from La Source, up the hill through Eau Rouge and Madion, all the way down the Camel Straight. Not necessarily certain that Jake Benham is going to be leading by the time we get towards the end of Sector 1. As we are hearing, there could be some rain towards the end of this race as well, which might just spice things up and might influence the tyre choices we see on the grid.
Absolutely, and that's coming from Dylan Warren. I'd imagine he's in a Discord call with one of these drivers, and I hope we can see Dylan Warren potentially on one of these grids at some point. But yeah, the last 2 boxes, that will be right towards the end of this race. I'm seeing on, whilst we're just waiting for the drivers to load in, I'm looking at the pit lane. I'm just seeing the sky. It's a little bit hazy up ahead, but it is still mostly blue. We are about to get ready to head into the race. All the drivers are just beginning to ready up now. And Luke, before we get underway, who's your top 3 by the end of this one?
I'm actually going to go for Shanaka Clay to take the victory. I'm going to go for Jake in second. And, yeah, you know what? I predicted him to get a podium last week from the back of the grid. I'm going to predict him to get a podium from not quite the back this time. Thomas Ronhaar.
Okay, Thomas Ronhaar starting from P10 after crashing in qualifying. He's got it all to do this evening. Here we are now, getting ready for the start of round number 4. We are underway and the lights were not held for very long. Jake Benham with an excellent start, headed down in towards the first corner as now he leads Otis Lawrence and Shanaka Clay, who's looking to the inside of them as on here. Are they on a... Everyone's going very slowly off the exit here. Something's happened, but now they're back underway. We've got complete yellow flags across this circuit. I'm not too sure what's actually happening. And Luke, are you seeing this yourself?
Yeah, we've got a virtual safety car and drivers are ignoring yellow flags. I mean, I say we just chuck a red flag out and restart this, I think, because I've seen this happen before and it's the entire race sometimes has shown a VSC. And if you overtake, you're going to get a 5-second penalty at the moment. If you Jake Benham, you're saying, no, carry on as normal. You know, this is absolutely fantastic. But yeah, I mean, people have got sound clips of me ranting at this game, so I'm going to be careful for now. Oh, no, we're back to green flag, and yeah, I'm not quite sure what's happening now.
Yeah, I think that there might be a call for a lobby restart here. I'm not too sure. Duncan Hoffland's been given a 5-second time penalty, and Jake Benham spears off at Puon. So if that doesn't confirm a lobby restart, I don't know what does. But yeah, they're all retiring from the session. We are going to get a very quick lobby restart, and when I didn't think this game could get any more silly, I'm once again proven completely wrong. All the drivers just crashing out here. We are going to get a lobby restart. And at this point, Luke, it's February. How have these issues not been ironed out?
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, that was, wow. Yeah, that was... Apparently Otis got quite scared by Jake spearing off towards the wall. But yeah, I think that did confirm that we were going to get a restart. Yeah, everyone's left the session. Race over. We'll be able to sort things out, get the grid started. Everyone might be able to pick slightly different setups as now, if they wanted to. And obviously we have got free tyre choice. But yeah, not quite sure what happened there. We had the 5 red lights go out, and before they even got to La Source, there was a virtual safety car, and that's what gave drivers the penalties. If it was towards the end of the race, they might have been able to ignore it and just remove the 5-second penalties after. But because it was early on, you know, everyone was going to get a penalty and then have to serve that in the pit stop. So really nothing they could do.
Yeah, I'm just looking in the Discord chat at the moment. Apparently, Harvey Cohen didn't even have 4 tires. So I'm not too sure what's going on with that Red Bull, but a plethora of glitches. I mean, at this point in the game, it's just quite more funny to see really than frustrating. But you know, we'll take the restart. I mean, I'm looking at the podium celebrations. I think Modesto Maynard's won this race. The previous one here. There's a Haas on the podium. That's Thomas Ronhar, and then one of the Red Bulls. So well done to those guys. Thank you everyone for watching. No, I'm just joking. We're going to get the restart in very, very quickly. But Luke, I guess that gives us a little bit more time to talk about qualifying. Jake Benham, he topped the order. Shanaka Clay in second. But I think a very impressive run from Otis Lawrence into third there.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him earlier on. Straight away was looking very good on that set of intermediate tyres when they became the right ones in Q1. And just say to improve as the sessions go on. So yeah, definitely did a brilliant job there, did Otis Lawrence. Now he's got a bit more time to just relax, rest, get into things a bit, wait and see, you know, what's going to happen. And this is, you know, I always found it frustrating in the bits of racing I did where you were just sort of delayed. You just want to get it over and done with. But at least it gives everyone a chance now to, you know, stretch your legs, have a little walk around, get to the rig, get themselves a nice drink if they want to, before we're heading back in towards the race, hopefully without the race director falling asleep on the safety car button this time.
Yeah, and I think everyone's being told to restart their game, so hopefully, well, the new lobby's open and I'm in it. I don't know if you've got an invite yet, but Luke, I can send you that if need be. However, I guess this is going to be a little bit of a nice time to talk about everyone's predictions in the live chat. So we know that Jake Benham is starting on pole, Clay is in second, third is going to be Otis Lawrence. Who does everyone think in the live chat will be taking the win by the end of it? I never got to give my personal prediction, and just because I'm a fan of a fun story, I think Otis Lawrence is going to take victory this evening on his very first day, very first race, sorry, in WORPC. Dylan Warren has said Will Lewis is going to win this race, and it's because Will Lewis is actually live chat. Who's winning, your lads? Will Lewis comes back himself, says Dylan Warren taking victory. So, I mean, there's so many drivers that can win this race. They're not even in the lobby.
I mean, yeah, I'd argue the ones that are winning are Barry and Yarno, who decided not to turn up at the moment because they're fed up with the games. I'd say they're the ones who've probably won the most out of anyone tonight. But, you know, there we go. I mean, you know, someone can change their name to Will Lewis or Dylan Warren if they want, and they might have a chance of winning this race. But yeah, I think, you know, we know how good Jake is. He absolutely loves this track. It seems to be a track that odd drivers do love. I mean, Will Lewis especially. I think if he was here tonight, he'd have been up there towards the front as well. He definitely enjoys this. We know how good all these guys are. I mean, Pookie, mistake on his final one, probably annoyed him slightly. But fourth is not a bad place to be around here. We've said it already. You've got the long slipstream down the Camel Straight and everything. It gives you that perfect opportunity, and it also leads to some interesting tactical games, especially in the final laps of the races. If you've got two drivers together coming into the final laps, neither of them are going to be the one leading going on to that final lap. So we'll wait and see what is going to happen, but hopefully this time we'll be able to get underway. Obviously, Thomas Ronner, he'll be hoping for a lot better than what happened to him in qualifying with that accident. Quite a long way around Pouon as well, so I can only imagine he's sort of lost the car heading towards the left, tried to save it, and it's snapped off in the other direction. And another big question is, how high up the grid can Alvaro Carreton get? Will he be a driver who, maybe tries something different on the strategies?
Well, it's certainly going to be a question that we will find out the answers to. Dylan Moran saying at least a top 5 for Alvaro Carreton. He's had such a strong start to the season. Of course, not being able to qualify, that's definitely going to put a dampener on his spirits. However, of course, last week, Thomas Ronner, he had a qualifying ban. He started right down at the back of the grid, came back, and he finished in what I believe was 3rd position. So do not fear Alvaro Carreton. There's still plenty of opportunities to get your way through the grid, especially around a track like Belgium. It's so wide. There's so many places for an overtake. Realistically, you're going to have a great time no matter where you are starting on the grid, as we are just waiting to get back underway. Luke, I believe last season, I think Jack Canan has pointed it out in the chat. I think there was some more controversy surrounding this circuit.
Yeah, I think we had desync and all sorts, and I think it was the final race before we took a bit of a break for all of that, and Jack did point out that I may have said this game is not fit for purpose. I may have done a sarcastic impression of myself as well, and Jack made sure that he recorded that, so I'm going to be on my best behaviour tonight, so Mr. Canan doesn't get any more clips of me slagging off Codemasters, but hey ho, there's all that. Dylan Woman is very bothered by the fact that Liam has no logo next to his name, which now that I've noticed is probably going to bother me.
Oh wow.
For the final 30 seconds to a minute while this lobby's getting ready. We are just waiting for one final driver to get in, and then of course we've got to get the grid set up. And a big thanks to Lewis for that £2 donation to get us to say, well, online restart on stream. We have fallen for your trick.
That was quite funny. But yeah, I'm quite upset now at Dylan for telling me that Liam didn't have a logo, because he doesn't, and he's out of place. He's I don't know why he doesn't, because everyone else has one. They all just have the default one, which is like the red and white arrows that point in different directions. Don't know why he's not got that. But Shanaka Clay has just joined the lobby. He was the last driver that we were waiting on. So Liam Parnell is going to get the grid set up. So yeah, hopefully he'll be very hastily in that, and then we'll get underway racing. And Luke, I'm just itching to get going.
I mean, yeah. We've already had that sort of tenseness. We didn't really get to see what we were expecting, the chaos on the run down towards Eau Rouge and Madillon, because that is normally, you get someone trying to move on lap 1 round there, someone ends up off the circuit. Hopefully no one ends up with an accident, because if they do, that certainly is going to cause an actual safety car before we get lap 1 finished. Just, yeah, gonna have to see what happens now. A chance maybe for drivers to, as we've said, change their setup, so there'll be that bit more time taken once we load in properly for the drivers, just to make sure that they've got all their setups on. They might try something different on the strategy. I believe with the weather is going to be, it's currently showing a sunny. I'm not quite sure what's happening with the weather, because I believe we were due to get some rain towards the end of the race. And of course, if that doesn't happen, probably going to see everyone starting on the hard tyres and then going to the mediums towards the end, except maybe the likes of Alvaro and Thomas that feel like they're a bit out of place might try something different, but we know what it's like on this game. Hard medium strategy, pretty much every single circuit is the best strategy by a long way. Yep,
and it just, for some reason, decides to work out that way. Belgium, of course, a very historic circuit in WOR. Last time we were here, Philip Presnader took victory. Of course, he's not racing this evening. And then we think back to season 12, that victory was taken by Danny Berejnay. Of course, if you remember all the way back to F1 21, Jake Benham in that one, he overtook the safety car and he actually got himself disqualified. So he's going to be praying that we don't see that Mercedes coming out of the pit lane at any point this evening, because of course he might just find himself once again black flagged by the stewards. And I believe in that season 12 race, I think Sam Corby got a podium. That was a very feel-good moment for the PlayStation boys. As I'm seeing everyone is finally beginning to ready up. I believe we've got the grid underway, and I've just got a ping on Discord. I would bet that is Luke saying to ready up, and indeed it is. Good luck to all the drivers. He says a good luck from us, Luke, and it is going to be a fun one today.
Yeah, it is. It is going to be a fun one. I mean, it does look like the weather is still left on dry here at the moment, so we'll wait and see what happens. They might be told very quickly to not ready up, and things will be changing. I mean, we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what happens here towards the end of this. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Jake at the front of the grid. You know, Shinaka play for, I believe, 4,000ths of a second behind him in qualifying. Otis Lawrence there in third place. Alvaro Caraton right there at the back of the grid, our championship leader. If Jake wins tonight and Alvaro doesn't score any points, or I think finishes in 10th place, Jake will take the championship lead. Otherwise, Alvaro is going to be leading heading in towards the next race at Hungary. So yeah, it'll be a good one. And I was actually looking earlier on when we were talking about back in the PlayStation days, way back when I started commentating. I think Tycho Harding was actually racing on the PlayStation in WOR back then. So we've got that nice little link. He'll be hoping for a very good performance. And I didn't realise how much I missed Sam Corby in league racing until you mentioned his name.
Oh, sorry about that. I mean, Sam Corby, if you're watching, come back to us. There's always a spot welcome for you in WOR. Just about loaded into the lobby. Liam has put the weather on to custom, which is it is good. Of course, we are going to see those last two blocks in the rain, so there's still a potential for some drama. However, all the drivers just fitting their setups now, getting ready to go once again. And I'm really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I mean, the tension's built a little bit more now, hasn't it? Everyone's relaxed, everyone's unloaded, everyone's slammed it into the wall at about 160 kilometres an hour. If you're Harvey Cohen, you've done an impression of Michael Schumacher at Spa 98 and driven around the track on 3 wheels. The only difference is you haven't gone down the pit lane to lamp David Coulthard. Let's see what 22 laps of action is going to bring here.
Absolutely, as the drivers have all got their setups ready. And here we are, getting ready down to begin round number 4 for the second time here in Belgium. They were held at the lights for a while, but Jake Benham with a good start once again as they head down in towards turn number 1. Otis Lawrence trying to pull to the inside of Shinaka Clay as they hit the first braking zone, and indeed the Ferrari man is going to come out ahead of the Williams. Off the exit of the first corner they go. Jake Benham leading the way, Otis Lawrence in P2, Shinaka Clay third. Yellow flags at the end of the first sector, and Boalem Ferrer is out of this race. Could that trigger the safety car? It's the VSC once again, and I'm getting some poor deja vu, Luke.
Yeah, I mean, at least we've got a reason for this one. Ika Baena's dropped it. Baena's dropped it at the top of Eau Rouge as well. I think Alvaro Caraton, I'm not sure if he was involved in the incident with... yeah, I think he was definitely involved in the incident with Boalem Ferrer, because there, Caraton is missing part of his front wing and has now had to wait for Baena to catch him back up. He is not going to be happy with that one whatsoever. Brilliant start from Otis Lawrence there, managing to get alongside Shinaka Clay and ahead. Liam Parnell as well. A big winner, up 3 places. Biggest loser, well, obviously Boalem Ferrer's out of the session, but Ika Baena as well, dropping 6 places. I mean, only driver to go for something different on the strategy is Istvan Poogie. He's gone for a set of the medium tyres. He's begging for this rain to turn up a lot earlier than the others are expecting.
Yeah, I mean, he might not be able to even take those to the rain period. He might have to pit, and that could be his race already just set in stone, not going to be in his favour. However, Jake Benham still leads the way at the front of the order. We should be getting ready to go green once again at the end of this VSC period. We've lost already Boalem Ferrer. Alvaro Caraton, championship leader with wing damage, as now we are back underway. Green flag racing here in Belgium. Jake Benham leading the way. Istvan Poogie with a great restart. He's looking towards the outside of Shinaka Clay through Blanchimont. There you go. Can he make this move? Stick around the outside. Shinaka Clay does well to leave him room on the right-hand side. He's going to... Otis Lawrence, they're making close to making contact. He's going to have to go around the outside at the second part of the bus stop chicane, utilising these medium tyres to full effect. Istvan Poogie now up 2 places already and in towards P2. Can he challenge Jake Benham and utilize these medium tyres and get away from the pack as now they head down towards Eau Rouge and Radion for the second time. He's in the slipstream, in the wheel tracks of that Mercedes car as they climb up the hill. He's just got such superior grip as to be expected with the medium tyres, and now looking towards the outside with the overspeed. Down the Kemmel Straight, it's Van Pookie. He's up into the lead.
Yeah, Jake Benham saw that one coming and thought, you know what, I've got no interest in fighting that at the moment. As long as he can try and stay within a second of his Van Pookie until elapsed time when the DRS will be activated. First time they'll be able to use it is down the Kemmel Straight next time around. If he can stay within a second, it's not too bad. If he can't and Pookie's pulling away just on pure tyre pace, then we'll wait and see. Might not be a time to write off this Van Pookie just yet from this race, because it's quite a short pit lane around Spa-Francorchamps, of course, only using the F1 pit lane, not the full endurance one, which would be an absolute nightmare for Formula 1 cars, to be honest. But yeah, Pookie, whether this was an accident, whether he is trying something different, whether he is hoping the rain comes earlier than predicted, we'll wait and see. But he's already nearly built 0.8 of a second gap. And you just saw how good he was on the brakes. I mean, the initial overtake was just him reacting slightly better to the VSC ending, getting a run around Shanaka Clay. Brilliant move around the outside. And fair play to Shanaka for leaving him the room as well, as it looks like we could be seeing some more moves as well. So, Alfie Butcher all over the back of Conor Muir.
Conor Muir, though, on the back of Andrei Tarabukin, so they're all keeping it very tight-knit in the midfield as we speak. Here's Van Pookie beginning to stretch that gap, but if Jake Benham's able to keep him within that 1 second window, he'll be able to utilise the DRS down the Kemmel Straight, as now with the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, it's Van Pookie leads the way. DRS now has been enabled, so the drivers down the Kemmel Straight will be able to open up the flap at the rear wing and have that drag reduction system active. Who's going to utilize it best? Who's going to be able to make any moves at this point? We'll find out as they climb to the top of Eau Rouge and Radion. Jake Benham has been able to keep with Van Pookie at this point. No one seemingly is going to be challenging themselves, of course, in this DRS train. The effect of it effectively cancels out, and in towards the Lake Chicane, no moves are being made here.
No, I mean, obviously, if you have a second car, you've got a big slipstream advantage and DRS advantage over the car in front of you. If you're the third car, you normally get a tiny bit of a slipstream advantage. Any further back than that, you're identical straight line speed almost to the car in front of you. Modesto Maynham and Tycho Hardy had a fantastic battle coming through La Source, almost side by side through Eau Rouge and Radion before Hardy stayed ahead. But now Modesto Maynham's managed to make a move work there into Bruchel, so he is up into 60th place, of course, after failing to set a time whatsoever in qualifying. He was right down there at the back of the grid. But yeah, things have calmed down. I mean, we say, you know, they're in a bit of a DRS train. We're seeing this a lot at the moment in this sort of phase of the F1 game over the last few months, where the drivers at the front just go crazy and try to break DRS on the cars behind. And Otis Lawrence nearly dropped outside of Jake Benham's DRS range. He's had to burn up a lot of his DRS. And Shanaka Clay, he's having to do the same thing as well, but very experienced Brit, down to less than 20% at the moment. So it's not Van Pookie, the one that's breaking this train at the moment, because Jake Benham's managing to stay with him, but Lawrence and Clay just struggling to stay in the wheel tracks for now.
Yeah, and they're all having to burn up the battery, I'd imagine, a lot earlier than they would have liked at this point. That could give the advantage to the likes Tomek Paragic and Andrei Tarabukin, maybe even Conor Muir at this point, who have been able to save the battery for a little bit here. And Shanaka Clay has been completely dropped by Otis Lawrence, and now he's at the mercy of Tomek Paragic, headed to the top of Eau Rouge and Radion. There's no point in fighting this one. He's got the DRS, he's got the overspeed, as here he comes. Tomek Paragic up into P4 ahead of Shanaka Clay, who's just been falling down the grid. He's now lost, I believe, 3 places in at this one, so it's not looking good for the Williams on his return to the series. Nevertheless, it's still a long race. We're only on lap number 4 of 22. Still plenty of action left to be had. Thomas Ronhart at the moment still mired down in P10. He's close to the back of Duncan Hoffland, as he has been for the past few tours. However, still not been able to make an overtake work. He's utilising the battery, headed down and towards Pouan, but no move looking to be made at this point in the race.
No, and I think what happened with Shanaka Clay, he just had an awful run through La Source, way too deep into the corner. I mean, you know, I think even if he'd have stayed onto the DRS, he'd lost that much speed. Paragic might have had a chance, but once he was outside of DRS range, there was no hope for Clay to keep Paragic behind, so just let that move happen as early as possible. No real point in fighting it, and yeah, this is very un-Ronhart-like. Normally, I mean, America, obviously he had a bit of a bad race. Last time out at Azerbaijan, he gained 6 or 7 places in the first couple of laps, even without the safety car looked like he would have had a chance of scoring top 5, top 6 points. But this time, round the moment, things very calm, things a bit more conventional, not able to make the big moves at the moment and just having to wait in behind as slightly up ahead of them. Conor Muir has got Alpha Butcher starting to look very impatient behind him, and Muir has just stayed within DRS range, but he's burnt up a lot of his ERS. Alpha Butcher's got quite a bit more. This could be another move to watch out for on this lap.
Absolutely. Conor Muir has just been able to keep the DRS, and there it is. Alvaro Carreton out of this race. He's decided to box in the pit lane, and he is done for the day. Here comes Alfie Butcher now down the Camel Straight. Conor Muir is not going to make this too difficult for him, given that he has completely flat on the battery, and there it is. Alfie Butcher up into P7. That's another move made down towards the Laycombe chicane. Alfie Butcher with a nice enough overtake. Conor Muir, fair play to him for being respectful, and they're going to get on with their Grand Prix. I think Alfie Butcher was very clever not to utilise all of the battery there. He could have just all-in on Conor Muir. However, he decided to be calm about it, use a little bit of the battery, know when he had enough speed, and then turn it off to get the best run possible whilst conserving resources. However, Thomas Ronhart in behind, still not been able to make the most of the opportunity to overtake Duncan Hoffland, who isn't really using any of his battery either, and maybe he can actually be coaxed into an overtake on Conor Muir if he begins to struggle, because he's only got 20% in the battery. And at this point in the race, Luke, it just seems like it's a game of resource management.
I mean, it normally is in the first part of these races, as Ikebayen has not been managing the track limits very well. First driver to pick up a 3-second time penalty. If you're stuck in the train and the car in front of you has got DRS as well, you might as well save the ERS. You might as well see if you can save a bit of tyres to, you know, not necessarily pull off an overcut, but just see if later on in the race, on a set of mediums, a fresher set of mediums, you can take advantage and start to make some moves. You never know what could happen. You never know when things could fall your way. Things have not fallen the way of Otis Lawrence. We hear he's cut a chicane at some point as Ikebayena instantly pulls into the pits and retires from the session. So we're down 3 cars already, and we've only had 5 laps in this race. It sounds like Lawrence has struggled a bit with the track limits, and he's sort of on his own at the moment. 2% ERS. Parachits, you know, he's not got a lot of ERS either, so he's not going to have that opportunity to close in, but this is allowing the front two to escape, and early stages, but Jake Benham's looking very good at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, Isfan Pookie has to pit before everyone else, and he's going to be on the harder tyres towards the end. And given the fact that we are expecting some rain in the last 2 blocks of this race, he might have to do an extra pit stop, which is really, really going to hurt his chances of winning this race. So I'd say at this point, Jake Benham is still in the best position to take victory. However, safety cars are still a very big possibility around here. Of course, we've already had a VSC for Boulem Ferrer crashing out in this race, but don't count out the chance of a safety car. We saw Duncan Hoffman was able to get by on Conor Muir. I think Thomas Ronhart is going to be thinking the exact same thing. He'll want to stay with his fellow countryman, and that means that the Alfa Romeo is going to be the cork in his bottle, as off the exit of Paul Freire, who's on the battery on the back of the Alfa Romeo, headed down in towards Blanchemont. They go. I'd imagine he's going to try and go deep on the brakes in towards the bus stop chicane. Here comes Thomas Ronhart in his Haas. Conor Muir defending to the inside line, but he opens up the door. Thomas Ronhart now later on the brakes, down the inside. There's contact up ahead. That's Andre Tarabukin and Alfie Butcher sent into a spin. I'm not too sure what's happened between the pair of them, but Alfie Butcher has been sent into a half spin. He's gone around and he's way, way down the order. Duncan Hoffland up into 6th, Tarabukin down into 7th, and in all of that, Thomas Ronhart was still able to make the move on Conor Muir, whose troubles still continue because now Harvey Cohen's onto the back of him.
Yeah, I mean, Muir's just dropping like a stone at the moment. Whether Butcher's gone for a move on Tarabukin and Tarabukin didn't quite see it coming or not, we'll have to wait and see, but things are looking very close at the moment. Here comes Harvey Cohen getting the move done on Conor Muir, and you can see up ahead as well, Thomas Ronhart has made the move on Andre Tarabukin.
Wow.
Can he go round the outside of Duncan Hoffland? It's 2 in 1 for the Dutchman. He's gone double here. And there we go, Thomas Ronhart up towards 6th place. Fantastic move, fantastic opportunism as well.
That is the Dutchman that we all know and love. He was quiet in the first few laps of this race, but now he's really come alight on these hard compound of tyres. He's utilising them to the best effect, and he's taking all the opportunities that are put in front of him. Really well done from the Dutchman. Of course, F1 Esports Rookie of the Year, living up to his name, and he's doing a fantastic job. at the moment. He's still got almost 2 seconds to Shanaka Clay, so at this point he's going to have some clear air, and but I'd imagine it's going to be quite difficult to actually get onto the back of these two. However, he does have a lot more in the battery, so possibly he could reconnect the train in behind him with the top few drivers. Of course, still not really in the podium positions. Tomek Parajic has not been able to catch Otis Lawrence whatsoever point, so it seems like there's a breakaway in the top 3 from the rest of the field.
Yeah, I mean, Parajic, whether he's trying to just conserve a bit of his battery, he's back above 20%. There's a lot of long straights here. It's not the easiest place, amazingly, to actually conserve a little bit of battery. He's dropped back from Otis Lawrence. That's allowed Shanaka Clay to get closer, but not really close enough to consider going for a move at the moment, as though Alpha Butcher retires from the session, and Leon Parnell and Patrick Sipos, Red Bull versus the Alpha Tauri. They're going to go side by side up Eau Rouge and Maddie. Oh no, Sipos, the Hungarian, backs out of that one, knowing that he's going to give himself a lovely little dose of DRS down the straight here. Here comes Patrick Sipos. Absolutely nothing Leon Parnell can do. And up ahead as well, Daniel Koya knocks Conor Muir out of the points. So after a great qualifying for Conor Muir, doesn't look like he's quite got the race pace at the moment. I mean, people who have got the race pace, Istvan Pukki, obviously on those medium tyres, and Jake Benham just in behind. But as Dylan Warman said in the chat, this could all change once that rain comes.
Absolutely, it's been overtakes galore in the first 8 laps of this Grand Prix. I hope you are all enjoying it in the live chat. Istvan Pukki still leading the way ahead of Jake Benham, and Otis Lawrence finally getting close enough to Jake Benham where he could start to use DRS. He's almost broken that 1 second window, but still the young Englishman, of course, a part of the Veloce Elites team. He is trying his absolute hardest, and there it is. He just for a split second there broke within that 1 second window that he needs to get onto the back of Jake Benham. However, he's completely flat on the battery. He's got hardly any resources to utilize at this point. Just got to get that little bit more out of the car, and there it is. Istvan Pukki pitting off to the right at the end of lap number 8, so he's not going to try and stretch these medium tyres towards the rain period. It doesn't seem like it's due for a very long time at this point in the race. You can still see in the sky up ahead, it is almost completely blue out here. So there it is, our first proper pit stop of the race, and it's another set of the mediums.
Yeah, I mean, that confirms to me that we are definitely going to get some rain, and the game telling us that we were going to have this sunny conditions was wrong. I think it makes sense. If you are going to start on the mediums, now is probably the right point to go on to another set of the mediums, but he's got to hope that those hard tyres just fall off a cliff towards the end and that he's still got some pace. He's a long way off. Got to think the Hungarians made a mistake there, and that is not the right call. Another Hungarian, though, is starting to make some moves. Sipos, the man who, of course, should have got points last time out, should have won last time out, and in having that accident, arguably cost Istvan Pukki that podium and a possible victory as well. Sipos into the points for now in the 10th position. It surprised me that Lawrence was able to catch up to Benham in the way that he was. Obviously, he dropped back because Benham had the slipstream. That's no longer the case, so that's an advantage for Lawrence. Benham had DRS. That's no longer the case. But Benham still has that tiny little bit more ERS than Otis Lawrence, and that is going to help towards the end of the straight once Lawrence has completely burnt out his battery, and this time 1.3 seconds behind. Certainly will not be close enough, but despite that, he's still pulling quite away severely on Tomek Parajic. That gap now up to about 3 seconds, and we're only heading towards the end of lap 9.
Yeah, so unless there's no safety car in this race, it's looking like a 2-horse battle between Jake Benham and Otis Lawrence. Of course, Jake Benham, the first champion on PC, I believe, all the way back in season 11. Otis Lawrence making his debut on the PC platform in WOR only tonight. So there's 2 different stories to be seen from this one. It's almost the veterancy of Benham with the fresh blood of Otis Lawrence. It makes for a great storyline. I think Shanaka Clay at this point, Luke, he might be getting a little bit tired of sitting in behind Tomek Parajic, because all of a sudden he's underneath 0.3 of a second onto the back of the Mercedes car, and he's in the wheel tracks. He's using the DRS to its full effect, and he's going to look to the inside line in towards Lacombe chicane. Shanaka Clay up into P3. He's into the podium places. He's now got 3-second deficit to Otis Lawrence to build up. To build back even and try and get himself into the fight for the win of this race.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, great move there by Shanaka Clay. I've seen this before with Shanaka where once he's on fresh tyres at the start of the race, he does seem to struggle, but then once the tyres getting a bit worn, the pace comes back towards him. And you can see there, just biding his time, nice and straightforward move, and has now got ahead of Paradzic. We are hearing here that Tomek's engineer is saying, yeah, we're not expecting any rain in this race. So are we going to see drivers going just all the way on a straight dry strategy? If it is only rain on the last couple of blocks, that is towards the end of the race, particularly around a track like Belgium, a very quick track indeed. You know, a very high speed. We'll see what happens, but surely we are going to get some rain. Otherwise, why on earth would Istvan Pukki have gone for the strategy that he's gone for? It didn't make a lot of sense with it raining towards the end of the race. If it doesn't rain towards the end, it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, and he's chucked away a very good opportunity of getting some points. Clay did make the move on the previous lap, but Paradzic has stayed with him.
Yeah, it's a bit of a head scratcher at this point, this one. Liam Parnell coming into the pit lane, and maybe that confirms that there is indeed going to be no wet weather. What tyres is he going to be fitting it? It will be the mediums. I mean, from this point, they can get to the end, of course. We saw Istvan Pukki only go 8 laps on those tyres. Of course, however, later on in the race, when you're lighter on fuel, you're not putting as much wear into the tyres. So maybe this is going to be beneficial for Liam Parnell. Tomek Paradzic responding 1 lap later to Shanaka Clay. He retakes P3, and Clay almost goes into the back of the Mercedes. And he had to stamp on the brakes, I believe. This is going to invite Thomas Ronhaar, who's been able to catch up and get right onto the tail of the Williams. Now the train has been bridged to that top 3 and the podium places at this point. So Thomas Ronhaar, he could be looking in for the scrap. Still, with just over half of this race to go, I'm still wondering what is going to be up with this rain.
I'm gonna say it. I mean, look, let's have a look out on the track at the moment. We've got what, 17, 8, you know, we'll say 20 minutes just to make it a bit simple. It rains quite quickly at Spa. We know the clouds can come in quite quickly. But you can see the mountains over the other side there. You can see the trees. There's no clouds whatsoever around this circuit at the moment. I think Liam Parnell's done the right thing. Let's just go through this as if it's going to be a dry race and wait and see what is going to happen here. I'm surprised that Venom and Lawrence are still pulling away from Paradzic and Clay, seeing as they've got the DRS. And, you know, you can just see there, Otis. Oh! Massive slide from Lawrence there on the way to the bus stop chicane. No idea whatsoever how he's held the car, but he's definitely not going to be getting in the DRS range anytime soon. Drops now to almost 2 seconds behind Jake Benham at the halfway point of this race. I mean, this race is going pretty much perfect for Benham at the moment. But, as WOR once said, with half the race gone, there is still half the race to go. You never know if there's going to be a safety car. You never know what could possibly happen. Is the cloudless sky a false dawn, and are we going to get some rain at the end of this race? We'll find out soon enough.
Lots of determining factors that could decide the fate of this race. Andrei Tarabukin looking onto the back of his teammate, headed in towards Lecom chicane, getting very close together and actually making contact. Duncan Hoffman not expecting his teammate to go to the outside, but there it is. Andrei Tarabukin up into P6, re-overtaking his teammate on lap number 12. Very ballsy move, and he's made that one stick. And Duncan Hoffman, I mean, that was very, very tight racing. That could have been a disaster between the pair of them. However, they've just about been able to work it out. And in all that fighting, they've actually lost themselves the DRS range to Thomas Ronhaar, who is closing to the back of Shanaka Clay. Still plenty of to happen through here, and Thomas Ronhaar starting from P10 in P5 at the moment. He's got actually about the same ERS situation as Shanaka Clay, a little bit less than Tomek Paradzic. It really is just the fight for the podium places. When will the Dutchman decide to go for his moves? It's going to be very tricky, given that they're both in the DRS of Tomek Paradzic in front of him and in his slipstream too. So still, Luke, lots of exciting stuff to be happening.
Yeah, and also I'm wondering, when is everyone going to go for the moves and start heading in towards the pit lane? In fact, that could be an answer. Otis Lawrence at the end of lap 12 dives in towards the pits then. So the first of the hard shod leaders to make their way down the pit lane, and this can only be for a set of the medium compound of tyres. He's going to need the outlap of his life if he wants to get back in the DRS range of Jake Benham, and that's the advantage Benham had. He had such a lead that he could afford to just wait and see what everyone else did. Tarabukin, Sipos and Tycho Hardy also coming in for a set of the medium tyres, and most of them staying quite comfortably ahead of Liam Parnell as well. But Liam, of course, is going to have some fantastic momentum. He was battling with Patrick Sipos earlier, and he's now comfortably ahead of Sipos as well as Harvey Cohen works his way past Duncan Hoffland. And obviously, that's what happened earlier. Andrei Tavabukin went for that move, broke the DRS train. He's cost Hoffland a couple of places there. You know, I'm not sure why you'd go for that move at that point in the race, particularly if you know you're pitting on that lap, especially against your teammates.
Well, I think that is the answer, because they are teammates, but not necessarily working together in this race. He wanted the pit priority, and maybe if Duncan Hoffland were to be ahead, he'd have pitted. Of course, Andrei Tarabukin, double stacking isn't possible in this game. He'd have had to wait a long time, so he decided to be selfish about that one, make the overtake, which in all fairness he is allowed to do, and get ahead and then take that pit priority, maybe to the annoyance of Duncan Hoffland, because in the end it has cost him another position. However, the exact same fate would have been met by Andrei Tarabukin, so I think the way he saw it was, it's either me or you, and it might as well be you. So yeah, that is just the way it is at this point in time. We'll see if Jake Benham decides to come into the pits to cover off the undercut from Otis Lawrence, and indeed he will. Tomek Brad just not going to be able to pit this time by Patrick Sipos with a 3-second time penalty for multiple track limit warnings. Then we've got Shanaka Clay and Thomas Ronhard, Daniel Koya in the pit lane as well at the end of lap number 13. We'll see where Benham comes out in regards to Otis Lawrence.
Yeah, I think he'll be comfortably ahead of Otis Lawrence. And we're hearing now, raining 10 to 15 minutes. But, I mean, that's the thing around this track. This is what I meant with it being such a quick circuit. If it's 15 minutes, this race is done and dusted.
Lawrence is ahead.
Yeah, this race is done. Wow, that's a shocker, yeah. Otis Lawrence has actually managed to get ahead of Jake Benham. I said he needed the outlap of his line. He's clearly done that. Otis Lawrence, all of a sudden, is in the net lead of this race.
Oh, what an outlap from him there, and he's got the improved tyre heat from the outlap there. Jake Benham's got to still get the warmth in the tyres. Thomas Ronhard, meanwhile, further back behind, making the move on Shanaka Clay. This is for the net P3, no DRS for the Williams driver. Thomas Ronhard utilising it to full effect, and he is in to 10th position and into a net podium position. But now your new net leader, Typhon Isvampuki, who, regardless of the weather conditions, has to pit by the end of this race. He is your leader. However, Otis Lawrence, technically, he is your net leader. Jake Benham, I think he's been caught napping there.
Yeah, and it sounds like, from what we're hearing in the chat, that he might have messed up the pit stop timing with the button on the turning. I was wondering how on earth did Otis make an undercut that powerful work? And that's definitely going to help. But you can see all of a sudden here, Otis Lawrence has decided, you know what, let's just go for it. Let's try to break that 1 second window.
Wow.
He sniffs a victory on his debut in the top tier. Oh, what a statement that would be against, you know, these esports drivers, many who've been in challenges as well. Some big names here. Otis Lawrence is just absolutely gunning it at the moment and going for this race. He knows he doesn't have to worry about Istvan Pukki. He has to pit again no matter what happens, because you have to use 2 different types of tyre. Everyone else probably just fighting for 3rd place at the moment. Tomek Paradžič now comes into the pits. Wouldn't surprise me if Paradžič drops behind Ronhard and Clay, and also behind Andrei Tarabukin. Fastest lap of the race for Otis. Not enough, though, to drop Jake Benham. This is just going to be a fantastic final battle in the final 8 laps between the Ferrari and the Mercedes.
And I don't think we've seen this sort of speed from a non-esports driver since before Thomas Ronhard was in F1 Esports. Otis Lawrence, coming onto the PC platform, really is making his name known. And I know he's already garnering a very big fan base, so maybe this is an early glimpse at what the future of F1 Esports is. He's still a very young man. He's still got plenty of time to grow. Meanwhile, Shanaka Clay, a veteran in the league racing and F1 Esports scene, he gets by the F1 Esports Rookie of the Year. He's back up into that net P3 there. Been dropped by about 5 seconds to the drivers in front. Andrei Tarabukin trying to make himself a factor in this race, trying to get by on Tomek Paradžič on lap number 15. Luke, still so many battles throughout the field going on here, and I think this is one of the candidates for the best race of the season.
I mean, it's spot on, Kishon. We should have known it was going to be a sublime race. Yeah, there's been battling all the way across. I think we're going to have a battle for, you know, the lead of the race between Otis and Jake Benham, and Istvan Pukki will end up getting involved in this one. And it's just depending on where you get the overtakes done. If Otis gets it done, you know, down in towards the Kebble Straight, and Jake can't get ahead of Istvan quickly, that could be it. The Ferrari could be off into the sunset here. And that could be game, set and match to Otis Lawrence. Thomas Paradžič and Andrei Tarabukin, they've had their little battling, and that's almost allowed them to drop behind Thomas Ronhar by more than a second. And in fact, Ronhar, he was almost dropped a second behind Shinaka Clay, who's decided to go for it on this lap as well. So none of this, wait until the end of the race, wait until the final couple of laps and just save yourself. They're all gunning it at the moment, and this could be pretty interesting. Not only has Lawrence caught up to Pookie, but Pookie is right on the back of Modesto Mena.
And Modesto Mena yet to pit in this race. What is going to be happening throughout the entirety of this Grand Prix? Istvan Pookie surely has got to clear the AlphaTauri as soon as possible if he wants to stay ahead of Otis Lawrence, and I think he's on the battery and he's pulling away from Ferrari. Looks to the inside now of the AlphaTauri. There it is, Pookie up into third. He's got his teammate right in front of him. Of course, he's going to have to pit at some point in this race, but he will be ahead of Modesto Mena come that time. Otis Lawrence now, he'll be on the back of the AlphaTauri, and if he can't clear him, and soon enough, Jake Benham will be right on the rear of the Ferrari man. And arguably, he's caught him at the worst time because it's so difficult to overtake in this second sector. There's no real heavy braking zones. There's no DRS straight. He's going to have to sit in the dirty air of Modesto Mena. But off the exit now of Puon, he could smell a move in towards Campus Corner. This series of rights and then in towards the left. Here he comes now, Modesto Mena, feeling the pressure from Otis Lawrence now towards the third sector at the very bottom altitude of this circuit down at Stavelot. Jake Benham sitting from the wings watching this all unfold. Here comes now Otis Lawrence to the outside of Modesto Mena as they head towards Blanchimont. Where can Jake Benham slot in this fight as Otis Lawrence sides his way up the inside? He gets ahead of Modesto Mena. Surely Jake Benham with a Hail Mary send. He's got to overtake Mena at this point, who defends to the inside line. Benham now towards the outside. And who would have thought some slow traffic would have got in the way? And all of that just a pit at the end of the lap. But Otis Lawrence, he lives to fight another day.
Yeah, and crucial for Benham that he got ahead when he did. I think what actually happened there is Modesto Mena had a little bit of a wobble coming out of Paul Frere, and that allowed Otis Lawrence to get the move done earlier on. And obviously then, Jake Benham able to follow and make his way through as well. Now, Istvan Pookie all over the back of Conor Muir. Should be straightforward for him. I think Lawrence and Benham are just going to be a bit too far behind to make that move. And there we go. That is nice and easy for him. Thomas Ronhar alongside Shinaka Clay. This should be a straightforward move. They've dropped Paracic and Tarabukin, and that is Thomas Ronhar up onto a net podium as well. He got one from 20th last week. He's on track to get one from 10 at the moment, but 6 more laps to go. You'd be a brave person to really, predict which way this race is going to go, as Lawrence trying to go around the outside at Bouchel on Conor Muir. Might be able to do the switch back here. What a move by Otis Lawrence there, and Jake Benham needs to make this work on the inside of Pouhon, and he has done. I thought for a second there Otis Lawrence could have just got a gap at a crucial time, but Jake Benham able to follow through as well and make that move. Harvey Cohen still leads this race. He's yet to pit, as has Conor Muir. We know Istvan Pookie is going to have to pit again as well, and I think now we can safely say there's no rain in this race.
Yeah, I mean, look at the sky, the distance, but the clouds in the sky are off in the distance. They are not going to be posing any threat to these drivers at this point. Otis Lawrence, he still is the net race leader in this race, and I think Jake Benham, he overtook Conor Muir, but it wasn't in the best position possible. He had to take an unideal line in towards Poole, and it might have cost him a little bit of time there, but in the end, he's still within the DRS range of the Ferrari. The pair of them of ERS, actually Otis Lawrence only with 10%, Jake Benham around about 30. So once this race reaches its climax, Luke, that could be the difference. This race and Otis Lawrence tasting defeat. We'll have to wait and see what Lawrence decides to do. Pookie has run out of DRS. He's run out of chances, I think. Surely he's going to be able to overtake the Alfa Romeo. Here they come now down the straight. It doesn't seem all that close, actually, to the Alfa Romeo on much worn medium tyres as they hit the braking zone now. And indeed, that is the case. Otis Lawrence staying behind in at P3 might give an opportunity for Jake Benham to catch up here. And I'm just thinking at this point, as Conor Muir gets a 3-second time penalty, I'm thinking, if Istvan Pookie didn't make the mistake with his tyres, where would he have even slotted in this race?
I think he'd have been right up there. I see no reason why not. Maybe not fighting with Lawrence and Benham, but I think certainly in and around the Ronhar, Clay, Paracic and all of that battle at the moment. As that is Conor Muir. He's backed off and slowed down there. Not sure if he's got a puncture or not sure if he's just realised, you know what, I'm not in this fight anymore, so let's just let everyone by. Sensibly done to make sure that he's getting well out of the way of that one, and that is Conor Muir all the way down to the back of the field. And yeah, it doesn't look like there's any damage on that car. Look like he's realised that strategy not quite working for him at the moment. I think now's the time it's really going to get tasty. Harvey Cohen surely now has realised that he's going to have to come in for a set of the soft tyres at some point, so probably resigned to the fact that he's scoring no points in this race. That is going to leave Istvan Pukki leading this race. Surprised he didn't decide to come into the pits as well. Otis Lawrence and Jake Benham, though, the main two that we are wanting to watch out for with 4 laps remaining. Didn't get close enough last time, did Lawrence, and again, he's got a bit deep. He's got a bit deep into La Source, and that might just allow Pukki to survive for another day. I think, though, those rear tyres are starting to cry enough on the Alfa Romeo, and this surely is going to be Otis Lawrence taking the lead of this race. The big question is, how quickly can Jake Benham follow him?
We'll have to wait and see as now Conor Mule retires in the pit lane, getting out of the way of everyone. That was very sportsmanlike of him. Here comes Otis Lawrence, not making this end. And I think he's made his intentions clear. He wants to stay within that DRS range to cover off the attack from Jake Benham in behind as Shanaka Clay is fighting it out with Tomek Parajas through Malmedy. They go, they make contact. Shanaka Clay just about stays ahead. He's been dropped by Thomas Ronhaar. Tomek Parajas now putting the pressure on to the Williams. Very tight between the pair of them. Somehow they escaped without any damage to their name. They live to fight another day. Meanwhile, at the front of the order, still Otis Lawrence sitting in behind Istvan Pukki. However, Jake Benham, he's a bit closer than he was last time by on the back of the Ferrari, potentially through Blanchimont, I think is where Otis Lawrence is going to want to try and make this move. Probably secure DRS for the main straight, of course, the start-finish straight, and then try and pull away from Jake Benham as they now approach Blanchimont for the 19th time in this race. Here he comes on the back of Ferrari's sister team car, but he's backing off. He's not wanting to make this move. Otis Lawrence paying this very strategically indeed as he remains behind Istvan Pukki, who peels off into the pit lane.
Yeah, that was coming at some point, so Pukki comes into the pits. He's going to drop outside the points, right towards the back of the field, so no more talking about who's in the net lead. Battle for the actual lead. Otis Lawrence versus Jake Benham at the moment. Benham, he's obviously behind. He's got 1 lap fresher tyres, though, and got about 20% more ERS, which is going to be making him feel very good indeed. Check the penalty situation. 3 seconds for Koya, as we just went on to that. 3 seconds for Sipos and Brown as well. And with how close things are down there, that could be quite costly. As Jake Benham, not close enough this time. No interest whatsoever in going for the move. Someone who might be close enough, though, if he goes for a send down the inside, Tomek Parajas chooses not to do so. I think Shanaka Clay actually got close to Ronhaar on the previous lap and decided not to go for the move as this battle's happening all the way down the field now. And that allowed Parajas a bit of an opportunity, and just through that tiny bit of contact, Ronhaar was able to get away nice and cleanly. So he's looking safe for 3rd place. I'd say most other places in the top 10, barring probably Andrei Samabukin, certainly up for grabs though. Most importantly, our top 2, still no real clearer to who's going to take this victory.
Absolutely, I mean, it could go either way. Otis or Jake with just over 2 laps to go. Let us know in the live chat, everyone, who you are supporting in this battle and who you think is going to come out on top. We got 680 live viewers at the moment. Thank you all for tuning in this evening. Make sure you like this stream and hit that big red subscribe button. It would mean a lot to us as now Jake Benham on the back of Otis Lawrence. I'd imagine, Luke, he's going to wait until the final lap to try and make this opportunity stick. We'll have to wait and see as now they head through the bus stop chicane for the 20th time in this race. Otis Lawrence now without DRS in this Grand Prix, and I've just seen Thomas Ronhaar. He's closing in behind. Imagine if these two have an incident between the pair of them. Thomas Ronhaar then slips through out of nowhere to take the win from 10th on the grid. What a story that would be. Thomas Ronhaar, by the way, still without a win in this season. It's not looking like today will be the day because Jake Benham now close to the back of Otis Lawrence as they reach the climax of Radion. Here he is now on the back of the Ferrari, looking to the outside line. Otis Lawrence defending to the inside. However, it is futile. Jake Benham, without even utilizing the ERS, he gets ahead of Otis Lawrence. He is now leading this race with just under 2 laps to go.
Yeah, good lap for the Mercedes team as well. Tomek Parajas maybe able to get his way ahead of Shanaka Clay, so he's up in towards 4th place. Daniel Koya retakes 7th place from Patrick Sipos. They're both going to drop behind Duncan Hoffland because of their penalties as well, but shouldn't lose any more places. Jake went for that move, I think knowing because he's got a bit more ERS. I feel like feeling like he could defend. If he'd have sat back and waited, you never know whether Ronhar would have got close enough to his DRS as well. So maybe just thinking about that one. Istvan Pukki, his day goes from back to worse, was, you know, probably leading this race for longer than we've seen anyone else lead it. At the moment, he's going to end up finishing in last place, barring an absolute miracle. Benham has gone for it on this lap time. He's 8 tenths ahead of Otis Lovens. Barring a mistake, I don't think Lovens is going to be close enough here.
He's got no batteries, almost sub 10%, where of course the power is half. Jake Benham has about 25% in the battery, and Otis Lawrence, he might have kicked himself in by not defending on that previous lap, and now Thomas Ronhar is closer to the rear of him, as now he's outside of the DRS range of Jake Benham. Otis Lawrence seemingly dropping the ball as they enter the final lap of the Grand Prix. Jake Benham has just got to hold on for one more lap here. Thomas Ronhar close to the rear of Otis Lawrence. All three of these guys coming up from the Xbox platform, now battling it out all on the PC. Jake Benham leading the way. Istvan Pukki coming to the pit lane, and he retires. It's a sorry day to be an Alfa Romeo fan. Both of them out of this race. However, Jake Benham for the final time entering the final sector. He looked to be in such a strong position for the majority of this race, where he's keeping up with the medium shod Istvan Pukki despite having the slower tyre. He's been really strong. And Luke, I think this is typical because now the cloud coverage has really started to come in here. The rain is about due, but it's not going to come in time for any of these drivers to take advantage of it, because it is going to be dry running from start to finish in this one. Jake Benham with just over one sector to go. He's had a fantastic start to this season, and by the end of this one, he will be leading this championship. It was 10 points in Brazil, 10 points in USA, a whole 18 in Baku, but it's going to be the full 25 this evening. The young Englishman, the all-star himself, is going to be coming through Blanchimont and heading up towards the bus stop chicane for the final time. Jake Benham on to the power. Season 14, this could be his year once again to become a repeat champion on PC. He takes victory in Belgium. Jake Benham wins round number 4. Otis Lawrence comes home in P2. Thomas Ronhar ends up in 3rd. 4th, Tomek Paradzic, Janaka Clay in 5th. And what a way to end this race, Luke.
Yeah, fantastic racing there towards the end. I mean, we saw Duncan Hoffman going side by side with Patrick Sipos. Final drivers making it towards the line. I think Harvey Cohen's alternate strategy of going long and going onto the soft tyres gained him a point at the end of that one. I mean, driver of the day there, Thomas Ronhar getting the in-game one, but I think it'd be a brave first to bet against Jake Benham. So, I mean, some were saying in the chat he went for that move a lap early, but I think he knew that he had the pace and, more crucially, the ERS to pull the gap. And also, as well, you know, just almost backfired for Otis Lawrence. I think he went incredibly late on the brakes into the bus stop to try and catch up to Jake Benham, and that nearly allowed Thomas Ronhar back in towards DRS range. I mean, that would have been a fantastic battle to watch on the final lap.
Absolutely. I think those mistakes for Otis Lawrence, they will be ironed out by experience. He's still very young and he's still very new to the PC platform. Jake Benham, he was just more refined today, and he was in such a strong position early on. He really does love this circuit. He'll celebrate atop the podium and spray the champagne across all the fans and his fellow podium sitters. Great way to end this race. Congratulations to all three drivers on the podium. What a way to end it, Luke.
Yeah, an absolutely fantastic race there. I mean, fantastic strategy. I think by Jake Benham. Got everything right. Pretty much perfect performance. Apart from that little mistake in the pit lane. Nearly ended up costing him, but making no difference in the end. Benham takes the victory. Otis Lawrence in 2nd. Thomas Ronhar, another podium. 3rd out of 4 races from him to get 3rd place. Great points from Paradzic in 4th. Shanaka Clay, Andrei Tarabukin, Duncan Hoffman, Daniel Koya, Patrick Sipos, Harvey Cohen. Rounding out the point scorers, Leroy Brown missing out in the end because of that penalty. Modesto Maynard, Liam Parnell, Tycho Hardy, Istvan Pukki. Said it in the chat. Good weather forecast in the Discord. Didn't get it right in the end. Would have been a genius if it had pulled off. In the end, no points for him. No points also for Conor Muir, Alfie Butcher, Ika Baena, Alvaro Caraton, our championship leader. His first non-podium of the season. And Buell Ferrer barely even made it around turn 1.
Yep, we have a new championship leader after this evening. Jake Benham will jump ahead by, I believe, it's about 2 points ahead of Alvaro Caraton, so it is looking very tight in the championship picture. Once again, Luke, another race where Thomas Ronha yet to capture a win in this season. He was a championship contender throughout the entirety of last season, but he has yet to take victory. Only three podiums to his name, all three of them being third places. When is he going to wake up? When is he going to take victory? We'll have to wait and see. Hope we can get him in for an interview very shortly. We already have Otis Lawrence and Thomas Ronhart in the waiting room. Should we drag one of them in?
We might as well, haven't we? I think we might as well. Seeing as we haven't got the race winner, why don't we start in reverse order? Why don't we start with the man who finished in third?
Thomas, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hello.
Okay, so let's start this interview off by talking about your qualifying, of course, starting from P10. What happened down there at P1?
Yeah, so basically what happened, I got a bit of an oversteer moment and tried to catch it, but my wheel decided to be a little bit of a spaz, and I couldn't really hold my steering wheel, otherwise I was going to break my hand. So I decided to take it off, and no other choice, and just hit the wall, unfortunately.
Really unfortunate there, but of course it didn't phase you at all. Headed into this race, of course, we were expecting some rain towards the end. What was your strategy there?
Yeah, we also expected a bit of rain towards the last 2 or 3 laps, maybe to get at the intermediate tires. But unfortunately, the rain never really came. It came basically on the last sector, only of this race, and obviously it doesn't matter for the strategy. So a bit of unlucky there for strategy. Couldn't really do anything. Of course, overtaking a Spa is extremely hard, especially when you're on the DRS train and just having no drag at all. You're just gonna be stuck in a DRS train, and yeah, basically that happened throughout the whole race. Managed to get a few overtakes of them though, on I believe Shanaka, Duncan and Tomek. And from there on I managed to get the guys behind, because I think they had a bit of an incident. I think in No Name or in the comp, I don't know what happened to them. But yeah, overall in general the pace was there. Just need to sort out my silly mistakes once again. But yeah, we'll try again next time.
Absolutely, of course, we are headed to Hungary next week, and without a win to your name so far this season. Hungary, how are you feeling about that track?
Never done the track on the game, so it's gonna be a bit of a new experience for me. So I guess we'll see. Last few games the track suited me quite well, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see how it goes.
Yeah, well, well done on your third P3 of the season. Hope to see you back here next week for another interview.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So that brings us to the end of Thomas Ronhar's interview. Next up, we got the debutant in WORPC, Otis Lawrence, joining us in the commentary box. Otis, can you hear us?
Hello, I can hear you.
Okay, so Luke, how about you take us through an interview with our second place man today?
Well, congratulations. First race in the top tier on the PC side. Second place, so close to that victory. Did you think once Jake got ahead of you, you might have a chance to battle on the final lap?
Yes, and not at the same time, because my tires were absolutely done. But yeah, I'm very happy to have insane pace with Jake that race, because we pretty much capped the entire field. So yeah, pretty happy with P2 still. So yeah, just still gutted I didn't win, but you know, second's still good.
Yeah, tell us about it looked like the bus stop on the penultimate lap. It looked like you went really late on the brakes to try and get back within DRS range, and in the end, you almost allowed Thomas Ronhart back into things.
Yeah, I completely rear locked in the last chicane, which was not ideal, obviously. So yeah, lost me the DRS, but still pretty happy with the result anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, it's been a great debut for yourself. Qualified, I mean, up towards near the front, third place, first lap battling with Shinaki Clay. How are you feeling ahead of if you do take part at Hungary next week? Obviously, it's a very different track to Belgium. Is that one that you think suits yourself and where you could have another good result?
I haven't really done this track on this game actually, so I haven't done Hungary, sorry, on this game at all. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how the pace is. But we carrying a lot of confidence into the next round, and yeah, hopefully we can turn out a win or a podium.
I'd be very surprised if we don't see you taking the top step of the podium at some point this season. Congratulations on the podium, Otis. We'll let you head off and celebrate your second place.
Thank you very much.
Don't yet have Jake Benham in. We'll wait and see if he does join us, because it would be interesting to hear from his point of view. But I think, you know, him and Otis summed it up pretty well there. Him and Jake were just able to get away at the front of the race, and that pretty much decided the 1-2, particularly once the rain didn't come.
Yeah, maybe they weren't the quickest drivers throughout the entirety of the race, but they were quickest when it mattered, and that was pulling away early on so that no one else could catch them by the end of the race, and it was a really good job from the pair of them. Of course, Jake Benham, I don't believe we're actually going to be seeing him tonight, so I think we'll wrap up the interviews there, and we'll talk about next week. Already, Luke, Thomas Ronhart and Otis Lawrence saying that neither of them have really played this circuit on the game, and I don't believe it's been in many league racing calendars, and I don't remember if it was on I'd imagine it wasn't on F1 Esports calendar, so there could be a bit of spiciness to be had there.
Yeah, I mean, Hungary, Monaco without the barriers is how it once got described. It's a very tight, very twisty circuit. Qualifying is crucial. It is possible to make overtakes around there. It's one that I enjoy, particularly that middle sector. It flows quite a bit, but if you're on older tyres, it can be a bit of a struggle. Should be an intriguing race, particularly with strategies. Calling it right, either an undercut or an overcut, could help you take the victory there. I mean, will we see Jake Benham win again? Will we see WOR finally get better than third place? Alvaro Cavaton, no points whatsoever tonight. He'll be itching to try and show what he can do and retake that championship lead.
Absolutely, there's still plenty of action left to be had in this season. We're only at round number 4, but Luke, I believe that is everything from us this evening, so I think I'll let everyone get off. Make sure that you leave a like on this stream and drop a subscribe to the WOR YouTube channel. It's the big red button beneath the video. You cannot miss it whatsoever. Make sure you also follow us on Twitter at WOR League and join our Discord server for all of your WOR news. The link will be in the description. If you want to follow myself on Twitter, it will be at DanFieldF1_. And if you would like to follow Luke, it is at LukeEtheridge95. You can see them both beneath our faces here. But from us, I believe that is everything. Thank you for tuning in to what was a fantastic race around Spa-Francorchamps. We will see you next week for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Thank you and good night.